Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Hello, everyone. Oh, little one's crying in the background. It's okay. Just finish your bottle. There'll be more later. Bless her. Hey, everyone. Oh, right. Ready to rock and roll, guys. Ready to rock and roll. Hope you are too. Hope you are too. Hope your Sunday has been treating you well. Oh. Watching this stream while we're revising for your GCSEs, Olivia. Good luck with your GCSEs. Oh, yeah, it's exam season now, isn't it? It's exam time. But, hey, baby stuff, yeah. She's to the side. It's nearly nap time for little one. So, she's going to miss the race. I'll catch her up with everything later. But, yeah, welcome, everyone. Hope you're good. Good, insert your relative to the time and your geographic location. Yeah, welcome, everyone, from across the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. Or it's maybe for some of you, it's actually pushing towards Monday already. For some of you, it's midnight where you are, Woody. Oh, unbelievable. Yes, welcome everyone. 1 hour until the race starts, Georgian. Yes, I wanted to go live a touch earlier than we normally do. Of course, we have the sighting laps to keep an eye out on as well. I don't expect anything to really kind of happen when the drivers are making their way round to their grid slots, but you never know. You absolutely never know. Which football team do I support? West Ham, who are actually, I think, playing now or kicking off very soon. But our season's over and done with, so not really too much to play for with West Ham. But yes, first corner mayhem predicted, Drew. Well, with the way the racing rules are at the moment, as we know, all the power is to the inside car. And we've seen the past two race weekends, Saudi Arabia and Miami, where the inside car into turn one, at least in the sprint race we saw it, there is always that car has the power. And we've seen the inside line be basically attributed to the driver starting in second, not in first, and they've been able to use that to their advantage. So, if you can hear little one, you're making so much noise in the background there, aren't you? Nearly nap time for her. Morning, Nero. Good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Where's the Ferrari t-shirt? It's currently in the wash. It's currently in the wash after yesterday. Yeah, no more merch. Back to the standard plain t-shirts for today. There's a fun fact, actually. There is a fun fact about about Ferrari, which I say it's a fun fact. It's not really a fun fact. It's just a depressing fact, guys. The last two times Ferrari didn't make it out of Q2, and they had a double basically failure to get into Q3, was Canada 2024 and Italy in 2020, Monza. In both of those scenarios, they had double DNFs. So Ferrari, it's not looking good for them today. They say bad luck comes in threes. So yeah, the last two times they failed to make it, both of their cars into Q3, they had a double DNF in the race. So say hi to baby. Yeah, she's off to sleep now. Nap time for her. It's her afternoon nap time. That she's in her F1. Yeah, pass her here. Say hello to everyone. Which way? That way. There she is. In her F1. full of food. Ready to go to sleep. Georgian, you predict a Ferrari masterclass today. If you're right, can you be a mod? Yeah, all right. I'll agree with that. I'll agree to that. Max could get devious at turn one like he did with Hamilton. Yes. Well, that's what he'll be hoping for. Now, remember the racing rules. If he is to hold on to that position, he needs to have his front wheels alongside the mirrors of Oscar Piastri. That is the rule now. It's no longer technically ahead at the apex. he is entitled to the corner, and it's his corner as per the racing guidelines. That's what the stewards will be looking at if he has his front wheels alongside his mirrors at the point of the apex of the corner. So he just needs a decent enough start. But of course, Oscar Piastri starting in P1, he's had very good starts as well in the past, and he'll be looking to cut off the nose of Max Verstappen and cover off that inside line, so that he can just get a nice exit out of turn 1. So good evening, Glenn, good to see you. She's going to match with me. I haven't got an F1 onesie. Sorry to disappoint you guys. Evening, Glenn. Yes, apparently McLaren may be using PCMs inside their brake drums. That shields excessive heat reaching the tyres, which explains why their tyres have cold spots on them. Yes. So PCMs. Oh, what does that stand for again, Glenn? Something materials. I can't remember. I know it's like the material that changes like shape, doesn't it, or whatever. But yeah, they've been very smart and innovative with their brake drums, which is why they're able to just look after their tyres for so much longer. Not trying to be picky or anything. Is YouTube and other social media my full-time job? Just want to know if a career could be made out of this. It's not a full-time job yet, no. The best way I describe it is that I earn... The only kind of revenue I've got at the moment from this is like memberships from yourself supporting the channel, and ad revenue. It's not enough for me to be able to support my family full time yet, but I am kind of on the way there, I guess. That there is definitely an end in sight for that to be achieved, but yeah, no, not right now. It's not a full time job for me at the moment. I'd love for it to be one day. But yeah, you need to, for people to make a full-time career on YouTube, you need more than just ad revenue, and even memberships and stuff. So you need sponsors and partnerships and things. So, but the channel, what we're doing here, is we're on the way there. I just need to keep continuing. So there is definitely a career that can be made out of YouTube, for sure, in many different lines of areas, like focus, basically. So. Phase change materials, that's the one. Phase change materials. Thank you, Olivia. Much appreciated. Matt Armstrong is 100% a millionaire. Yes, he gets millions of views on his channel, and rightfully so as well, because he's a brilliant content creator. He's very entertaining in what he does. So sad we won't see Oscar schooling Lewis with crazy overtakes. Thank you, Kitsin. PCM Piastri can move. He definitely will. Well, I want, and it's very rare that you hear me say this on this channel. If you've been tuning in to these watch-alongs for the last few years, you'll know I'm not really a Max Verstappen fan. That doesn't mean I don't dislike him. I'm just not a fan. And I actually want Max Verstappen to get ahead of Oscar Piastri into turn 1. I really do. I said it yesterday. I wanted him on pole position because I think the way the Red Bull is struggling with their tyres, with their tyre temps and the tyre management, I do think that I do think the McLarens would catch and have the potential of overtaking Verstappen out on track, which we very rarely see here at Imola. Even with the lack of dirty air, I think that the McLaren is just going to be able to look after its tyres longer, and we will see a crossover period on track where the tyres switch, where the tyres just start to fall off. So yeah, I want Max to get into turn 1 first, because I think if Piastri does hold on to the lead, without a safety car, I think Piastri could just drive off into the distance with that clean air, because we know that McLaren is just so strong in clean air. Smokey, welcome to the pit crew. Thank you, much appreciated, buddy, and thank you for the subs that have been flying in as well. Thank you, guys. If I don't get through to each individual sub in thanking you, obviously we do get quite a lot, which I'm very fortunate for, so big thank you, guys. Trying to hit 45,000 subs today, that'd be amazing. So yeah, big thank you as always. But Smokey, welcome for supporting the channel even further and joining the pit crew. We had a few members yesterday as well. What is my thoughts with Norris and what's going on? Yeah, what is going on with Norris, man? I think he's just... I don't know with Norris at the moment. I think he's... I think he's getting inside his own head, to be honest with you. I think he definitely wears his heart on his sleeve quite evidently, a lot more than Piastri does. And yeah, he's just not getting it, is he? He's just not getting it at the moment. So he's very he's very much someone who needs confidence. All he needs is one good race again, which could even be today, and I think you'll see that confidence build. But I think when he's struggling, Lando, he struggles. And when Piastri's struggling, he's not really struggling, if you get my meaning, and he doesn't really let it get to him. So I think that's it. I think I still think Norris has the outright overall pace over Piastri. Not by a lot, but that's if he can operate at that in that window, which he hasn't done for quite some time. Whereas Piastri is just so much more consistent. So I do think a lot of it is inside his head. So I don't agree with what people are saying, the conspiracies and so forth, that there's shenanigans happening behind the scenes and whatever, favoritism for Oscar. I don't think that's happening. I think at the moment it's just a case of that Oscar is clearly preferring the way that this McLaren drives this year to Lando, and he's more consistent with it. But when Lando can get that McLaren in the right window for him, he is quicker. But he can't get it in that window often enough. So, which then gives him, he's someone who obviously needs that confidence, and he's very harsh on himself, and arguably too harsh on himself, and that's where he's suffering. Whereas Piastri just kind of is Piastri's very cool and calm in just brushing off poor performances, whereas Norris isn't so much so. And Norris may not be focusing on social media and stuff and what happens in the media, but he has admitted before in the past that he has been aware of what people have been saying online. And I imagine it's tricky not to, as a young lad, to try and not look at social media and that. And the people around him may be saying, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Or whatever. And whereas Piastri doesn't really get any of that online, if you think about it. So, yeah. Norris is insanely emotional. Then again, that may be just what may just be when compared to Piastri, who would react the same if he became God King of the universe. I mean, I don't think being emotional is a bad thing. I don't think wearing your heart on your sleeve is a bad thing. Lewis Hamilton has done that throughout his career as well, and look how successful he's been. But yeah, especially when you're comparing it to Piastri, and look, it's a very long season. It is still a very long season. He's still within touching distance, but I mean, he's got two cars between him and his teammate now at a track that's very difficult to overtake. And there's an interesting stat that George Russell was actually beating. It's the 7th race now. George Russell is actually beating Lando Norris in head-to-head qualifying 4-3. That says a lot, doesn't it? That says a lot. So he's got to lock in. He's just got to lock in. So this is multi-viewer. We'll be streaming through multi-viewer. And we will have the... Where is the... bear with me. We'll wait for the sighting laps to get underway, and then we'll change scene, guys. And of course, if you're just tuning in, we will wait for those sighting laps to end, and then we'll have a look at all our strategy options for today. Now, there is supposedly a bit of a higher chance of rain than we expected here at the start of the weekends. 20% chance, a little spoiler for you. Although I have looked at the weather radar, and it doesn't look like anything is on its way. But who knows? Who knows in Italy? It can change very quickly. You think Lando is not mentally as strong as Oscar, so he's overthinking everything and stresses too much, which is affecting him? Yes. I also, and some people may criticise me for this, but I do think an engineer is a very influential part of a racing driver. And I think you need someone who's very strong, concise, in your ear. And I am not convinced. I'm not convinced of Lando's engineer. I haven't been for some time. What really made me think he's just not the man for the job was when he was pleading with Lando last season. Remember Hungary, almost begging him on the radio. And I just after that didn't think that was really what should have been said over the radio. I think it should have been handled very, very differently. And ever since then, I've listened to what the messages have come through from Lando's engineer. And while he seems a nice guy, I'm not sure he's the guy that Lando needs in his ear. I think he needs someone who's a bit more... He needs like a GP, I feel like. I feel like Lando needs a bit of tough love. And I don't think Will does that, the engineer. I said it about Charles's engineer as well, Xavi. He was someone who didn't... He doesn't breed confidence. He doesn't give off confidence whenever he's in Lando's ear. The same as with Xavi to Charles Leclerc. And I do think Charles has done better. Obviously, this season is very iffy for Ferrari. But I think since Charles's engineer had changed, is it Brian? I think you've seen a change in the consistency of Leclerc's performances, and he's a bit more confident over the radio, that the engineer, and that all gives confidence to the driver as well, whereas I don't think his engineer does that, Lando, and I don't think that's what Lando needs. Thank you, Pete, for joining the pit crew. Thank you, much appreciated, buddy. Much appreciated. Right, let's change scene because the sighting laps will be getting underway very shortly. Hungary, Norris should have got win and demanded support for the title. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Kelly, you're not a fan of Will Joseph either. He barely passes on info compared to Oscars. Yeah, and he always is like, he's always asking Lando lots of questions rather than just being key and decisive. There was a test that found out that the most influential thing for wins in F1 was communication from engineers and the drivers. Exactly. Please take into account that McLaren did to Lando last year, like you're saying about the engineer. Yeah, and I think it is at the end of the day, like there was a good interview actually with the race and Lando and his engineer, and he even said it himself. He goes, something that he's kind of had to adjust to becoming is almost like a therapist as well, because when you become an engineer, he got into F1 through the engineering side of things, and he's become an engineer to Lando, still with the engineer, but he's having to think about the mental side, and I just don't think he's cut up. I don't think he's the right person for it. I don't think he's cut out for it in that sense of actually being a race engineer to a driver. Like, I'm sure he's very, very well at the data side and what he needs to do there, but in the actual communication side of things and having that relationship with the driver, I think he's lacking. I think he's lacking, to be honest with you. And I think McLaren really need to assess that. You're thinking Webber's influence is keeping Oscar level-headed. 100%. There is no way that Webber is not having an influence in that team right now with Oscar Piastri. Yeah, that's why. I mean, last year, that's why they never favoured Lando at all last year, pretty much, until it was too late. They only officially announced that they were supporting Lando as number one driver in Brazil. And even then, Oscar waited till the very last opportunity to swap positions with Lando when he could have done that so much earlier. Yeah, but I also understand why Oscar didn't want to give any sort of position to Lando. The last thing you want is your teammate to become world champion, because you don't want any favouritism or any hint of favouritism heading into next year. Morning, Ben. Good to see you, mates. We are checking Xavi. Yeah, that was what he was, wasn't he? Yeah. Afternoon, Graham. Good to see you. Welcome. All the usual suspects. Good to see you guys. Thank you. Aren't the team order issues a team failure more than engineer? They are. Yeah, I mean, last year Hungary was most definitely, of course, a whole team scenario that could have been handled so much better. But the way that, like, his engineer handled that over the radio was just not... I mean, it was quite pathetic, to be perfectly honest with you. It was embarrassing. I think the whole scenario was embarrassing. He was basically begging Lando to give that position back. And it was so embarrassing for McLaren, for the engineer. The only person it wasn't embarrassing for... The only two people it wasn't embarrassing for was Oscar and Lando, because neither of them were at fault for that situation. So... Webber's making sure the situation at McLaren doesn't devolve into multi-21. Exactly. He's learning from his own experiences, Webber, and look, he's clearly a manager that you want in your corner. So, hey, Sharon, thank you, buddy. Much appreciated. Yes, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, we're already over 100 likes. Thank you. We've already got 2 new members this stream as well. So, thank you. Keep them flying in. We're trying to hit 45,000 subs today. Let's see if we can do it, eh? Let's see if we can do it. But big thank you, as always. Interesting race ahead of us, for sure. Interesting race. It could be a 2-stop. We'll have a look at the strategy options. We'll have a look at why it won't potentially be a 2-stop strategy here at Imola, even though we're a step softer. But we are in a bit of an unknown, of course, being so on that step softer than last year. So hopefully it will throw up, even if it is a 1-stop today, hopefully we're going to see some teams, we should see, hopefully, more potential opportunities for overtakes because of teams being worse on their tyre management than others. Remember the restart last year in Brazil? Yeah, I do remember the restart last year in Brazil. If Lando wants to be world champion, he has to step up his game instead of always complaining and pointing fingers to other reasons for his failure than his own. I actually think Lando hasn't really been pointing fingers elsewhere. I think Lando has almost been too... I feel like Lando hasn't done enough of that, really. I think Lando has been too open in the fact of blaming himself, more so than placing blame elsewhere. You don't see Max Verstappen ever put blame on himself if he has a poor day. I know he doesn't have very many of those, but it's more down to the team. It's more down to issues there. It's because he has so much self-belief in himself, whereas Lando doesn't. And this is the same with Charles Leclerc, has also been suspect to this as well. He's been a bit too critical of himself at times. And I think sometimes, yes, you need to hold your hands up and say when you've underperformed. But to continue to keep doing that, I think you need to kind of deflect at some point and go, no, it's not me. It's not me. I am good enough. I am good enough to be out-qualifying my teammate and beating my teammate. And I think maybe Lando almost needs a bit more of that, to be honest with you. Lando puts pressure on himself. Watching him on the post-race interviews, he always blames himself. Exactly, yeah. So, hey, Rob Sticks, good to see you, mates. You're early. You are early. Good to see you again, buddy. Welcome, welcome. Predicting any drama or flags after the first turn? I am, down into turn 1. It all depends on Max's start, to be honest with you. It all depends on Max's start. And I do want Max. Yes, you heard that correctly. I do want Max to beat Oscar Piastri down into turn 1 because I think that will personally give us a better race here today. I think if Piastri gets ahead into turn 1, I think he's just going to drive off into the distance, and there's going to be no fight for the race win unless there's like a safety car. But I think Verstappen needs, for us fans, hopefully you want to see a good race today. I know I definitely do, regardless of who I support and who you support, and we need Max out in front because I don't think that Red Bull has the race pace today to hold off the McLarens, and that will make things interesting for the battle up front, and it will also make interesting for things behind as well, because if you battle here at Imola, you can lose a lot of time because of the nature of the corners here. So that will bring George Russell, Lando Norris into the fight as well. So we're quickly catching up to other watch-alongs. Let's go. We are indeed, Georgian. Yeah, continue to grow the community here and these live streams. Look forward to them every single race weekend. So, yeah, big thank you as always, guys. Number 2 spot is fine for Max. The start position is fine for him. Yeah, so. They are telling them what to say. Believe me, I've been in F1 for a long time. When you're inside, like me, you see the lies of politics. McLaren had a negative revenue, so FIA gave them the title. Ooh, conspiracy. Unless Verstappen and Piastri destroy each other into turn 1. I think we just need a car other than McLaren out up front, to be honest with you. Don't care who wins, just hoping for an interesting race with good, hard racing between the drivers. Well, that's what we want to see. I mean, Miami was good in that sense. I know the second half of the race fizzled out, primarily because, obviously, the gap that Oscar was able to pull out on Lando while he was trying to get past Max. He still took the same amount of time as Oscar to get past, except the problem for Lando, of course, was that he was so far behind Max and Oscar when they were fighting that he couldn't capitalise any sooner because of obviously what happened with him and Max into the first corner. But yeah, can we talk though, guys? This is enough about McLaren, and obviously the guys are just doing their sighting laps right now, and then we'll go into the strategy options for today. I want to talk about Ollie Bearman. and the injustice that has occurred to Ollie Bearman yesterday. Now, if you're unaware of what happened with Ollie Bearman, he's now started in 19th, but what happened is that Colapinto brought out the red flag very late on in qualifying, and Ollie Bearman set a lap, and he crossed the start-finish line, and we checked the data here. He crossed the start-finish line before the red flag was thrown. However, what the FIA have stated is that they removed Ollie Bearman's lap because he had not, as the data suggested, crossed the start-finish line when the red flag was thrown. No, he'd actually not crossed it because there was a delay in the panels and the information on the dashes that each driver gets when there's a safety car or a red flag. There was a 3-second delay, supposedly, from the FIA pressing the button for red flag and Ollie Bearman, so when it actually got shown on the panels and what we saw here, he hadn't actually crossed the start-finish line. I think that's absolute bull. I think if there is a delay in you pressing the button and it being shown on all the dashes, that's tough shit. Tough. Excuse my language. Tough. That's not the driver's faults. That's not the team's faults. They're racing to the information that is presented to them in real time, out on track, and on their dashes, on their steering wheel. You need to account for the delay of you pressing that button. Now, they said it's an unfortunate delay, something that doesn't happen all the time. But I'm sorry, that is really harsh for Ollie Bearman. He went into P10, I think it was. He should have been able to have got through to Q2, and who knows where he potentially could have qualified, and now he's down in 19th. And Haas are not happy with the reasoning of the FIA. They stated that, there was some orange lights on the start-finish line or something, which does also indicate a red flag or be prepared to stop or something. I don't know. But I think the FIA are clutching at straws, and I think what Ollie Bearman said was very well put. So I'll see if I can get the actual tweet up that I liked. So Ollie Bearman said, "It was clear that there was no red flag displayed when I crossed the line. I believe it's totally unfair to have it deleted. I feel like once they make a decision, even if it's wrong, even if it's clearly wrong, they are not going to turn back on it." And I think he's bang on there. I think he's absolutely bang on. So, yeah, I just... Yeah. I think everyone in front of the accident, their lap should count. Not necessarily that. I don't agree with that necessarily. But I think he should have at least... he crossed the line. So I think it was unfair, especially as Ollie had nothing to do with the crash between Colapinto, especially because he was so close to it. Yeah. What you wonder is how such a delay can even occur. Isn't all of this red flag stuff electronic and such? Should be for all intents and purposes. Yeah. So they said it wasn't a usual delay that happens. It's not like at every race circuit whenever they've pressed the button for a red flag, the delay occurs. However, I would also contest that now. And I would say, okay, so every time you press a red flag button now, or you press a safety car, something of the like, are you saying that there's a delay? Now, there should obviously be expected to be an understandable delay of maybe like a half a second or something if it is electronic, which of course it is. But still, that raises questions for other red flags and other yellow flags and stuff. So yeah, Haas have raised the question. They want it confirmed in writing even more. They want a proper investigation into it for all the teams to have further clarification moving forward. So, any tips for creating sim racing content on YouTube? Yeah, just start probably doing shorts. To be honest with you, Zav, don't waste your time starting with live streaming because you're just going to stream to not any viewership really. You need to start making videos and start making shorts. Get your content out there, buddy. That's the easiest way. Live stream when you start getting a following and you can interact with a community that you've built. So use your time wisely. That's what I would suggest, and that's the case for really any new content creator in no matter what niche you're in. Which tyres will they start with? Well, let's have a look, shall we? I think it's time for us to have a look at the strategy options for today at Imola. Welcome, everyone. We have 1,000 of you in the stream right now. Let's have a look. As I've done this sighting laps, nothing to report, no crashes. Of course, no wet weather here predicted. Pit exit is closed. Everyone's made it to their grid slots safely. We have half an hour until the race gets underway, or formation lap at least. So, let's change scene and let's have a look at the options for today. Just bring this over and set it up for you all. Right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, right. As you can see, we have today possible options in strategy. It could either be a one-stop or a two-stopper. There are two one-stop options available here today with the medium and hard compound tyre, which is the soft and medium compound tyre that was used last year. The red soft tyre, the C6, I'd be very, very surprised to see that used at all today, unless there was maybe a last lap dash, a very late red flag and a restart. But we've seen in qualifying that tyre just does not last very long at all. But yes, the one stop here, it's generally what we see at Imola because of the pit lane stop lost time, which we will get to. I'll show you that shortly, exactly why the teams don't want to make, ideally, a two-stop strategy. But there is a potential of a two-stop strategy today because of that step softer than last year in compound. So the drivers, the teams aren't aware of how, on a full tank, how these tyres are going to last today at Imola. So we could see maybe a two-stop, which would be very unlikely. But I think that's where really sometimes we get the best races, is when you're not sure if it's going to be a two-stop and you need to kind of eke out the tyres on a one-stop strategy. So hopefully, I think that's going to play out today. I think we will see maybe someone try and be aggressive, especially if there's going to be a considerable fall off on tyres. That will make overtaking, there'll be a considerable tyre delta, which we know we need to see in F1 these days because of dirty air. So an advantage of over like a second sometimes. And I think, yeah, we could potentially see that today. That's why I'm suggesting that I want to see Max take the lead into turn one, because I think the Red Bull doesn't have the race pace. I think they will suffer with their degradation on their tyres here, as we saw in Miami. And that will provide some good, hopefully, battles out on circuit, particularly between Piastri and Max up front. So, got to be kidding. The C6, yeah, the C6 for the first time. That's why we saw the medium compound tyre use. So, funnily enough, guys, George Russell potentially could have got pole position yesterday. He thinks he could have done. Now, of course, you can always think, but he was only just over a tenth back. And, well, the reason why he says he could have got on pole position is that he had to let Carlos Sainz through on his flying lap at the end. And he started his last lap in first gear. So he lost, actually, a bit of time out of the last corner down the start-finish straight, basically, to start his lap. And he says, look, that was potentially the reason why he wasn't able to at least start on the front row. So, yeah, really interesting there yesterday that Mercedes could have potentially picked pole position if it wasn't for that lack of start there. But yeah, that's the strategy options for today, guys. One stop or a two stop. I do suspect that we'll see most teams start on the medium, but I reckon the likes of Ferrari will probably start on the hard compound tyre, of course, starting 11th and 12th today. And, well, they need to kind of goal hang at a track that's difficult to overtake. They need to goal hang and hope that there'll be a safety car, a red flag or something that they'll be able to benefit from, because I don't think they're going to make up too much ground here today, of course, in a Ferrari that is struggling. But let's have a look at the tyres, of course, that they've got. And, well, you can see most teams, well, every team pretty much, other than, interestingly, the Aston Martins are the only team that don't have two brand new sets of hards available to them. But that showcases the uncertainty today in relation to strategy. The teams aren't sure of whether or not it will be a one-stop or a two-stop here, and having the two hard tyres available to them will give them an opportunity to choose a one-stop or a two-stop. Whereas, Stroll and Alonso can still do a two-stop, but they'll be on the 2 mediums rather than 2 sets of hards. So, yeah, very interesting there. Not really too much to write home about because everyone's pretty much got the same tyres available to them. So, anyone starting the C6 needs to take a long, hard look at themselves. I don't think the C6 is going to be touched at all today. Yuki Tsunoda as well is starting from the pit lane today. If you didn't know, guys, of course, big crash yesterday in Q1. So he's had to have a new chassis, I think a new power unit as well. So, yeah, lots of new parts on that Red Bull, which is why he is starting from the pit lane because he's broken Parc Fermé. So. Charles and Lewis really performed from these positions when there's pressure. Look at Abu Dhabi last year. Yeah, I mean, I think it should hopefully provide us some entertainment. But Ferrari might come unstuck. I mean, the Ferrari is not a quick car at the moment. Unless it's quicker in race trim, we'll see. But it's evidently not a quick car, and it's going to struggle to get past the RB, the Alpine of Gasly, the Williams. I mean, they're not foregone conclusions for them to get past at Imola. So. It is literally the Hypersoft rebranded. Yeah, I kept calling it the Hypersoft yesterday, and I had to stop myself from doing it. But someone in there here said everyone was on the C6. You took them at their word. No. If they start on the C6, it'll be a bit, but it'll be very surprising. But I don't think anyone will. But let's have a look at the race pace. So this is taken from data from the practice sessions, and well, no surprise there that McLaren is the quickest. But what's interesting is that from the data from practice, it is seemingly suggesting that Mercedes is the second quickest compared to when you compare it to the Red Bull. But look at the margin of the scarlet red there of Ferrari, man. 3.5 tenths slower than McLaren. Oh my God, 2 tenths slower, over 2 tenths slower than that of Mercedes and Red Bull. And look at Williams. I mean, the Williams is arguably a quicker car on race pace than Ferrari. What? Like, that is unbelievable at Imola, guys. That is absolutely crazy. So yeah, Aston Martin, supposedly their race pace is not as quick. I'm not sure if I believe that or not. I could be wrong. Of course, they did use their medium compound tyres yesterday in qualifying, so they may be at a detriment there. While they've qualified well, we'll see how long they can hold on to their position for. I know Alonso will make that Aston Martin as wide as possible. That's going to be intriguing to see how Alonso defends here today. He's going to be defending valiantly, no doubt, throughout this race. You think almost half of the field, half of the backfield will start on hards. I mean, you've got to go to the alternative strategy. I don't see the point of going like for like with the top 10. You need to try something. You need to try the alternative. Try and be on the quicker tyre at the end, and of course, hopefully benefit from a safety car. It is possible. So yeah, that's that with the strategy. And this, ladies and gentlemen, right here, this is exactly the reason as to why it is always a one-stop strategy here, and why I'd be very surprised if we see a two-stop, because it is arguably the longest pit stop strategy, pit stop lost time, apologies there, on the calendar. 28.2 seconds, very, very long. That is a lot of time to try and make up out on track if you make a second pit stop. That's also a track where it's difficult to overtake. That is why we normally see the one-stop strategy be utilised here, and no one does the two-stop. However, if those tyres do really fall off a cliff, as some of the teams are predicting, then a very uncharacteristic two-stop could be available here. You can see there a 10-second advantage in pit stop time if you pit under a VSC or a safety car. And we have had a high percentage of safety cars here, 75%, 3/4 of, like, 3 out of the last 5 years, basically. Or 4 out of the last 5 years have been, 4 years, 21, 20, 21, 22. 5 years, 75% anyway. 75%. That's a very high percentage of safety car in the last few years. Coming to Imola, VSC 25% and red flag 25%. So, yeah, that's basically why. I am wrong. I can tell which team will go for the two-stop. It will be Ferrari. Wouldn't surprise me. No race at Imola next year, potentially. Yeah, Glenn, I think it's going to be removed from the calendar. So they're looking to... I don't think it's got the money. And I think the race in here as well. So it hasn't been the greatest, which is why we're hoping... My expectations are very low here for this weekend, for this race. So, but we will see. We will see, eh? We will see. Oh, the front runners will be on a Sunday drive just to save tyre wear, so they just stop once. Could be interesting race if others decide to go alternative strategy. Yeah, why do we need to so much stop? Why is there so much of a pit stop lost time? It's just because the pit lane is so long. So, Max might pull something here. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it's. Yeah, I'm quietly positive about this race if Max gets into the lead. If he doesn't, I think Piastri could just drive off into the distance. But if he can get into the lead, that'll make things interesting, because that Red Bull, Max has admitted already there's going to be tyre management. It's about them trying to make those tyres last, whether they can or not. I think it's going to be something similar to what we saw in Miami, where they'll probably fall off, but it's a lot more difficult to overtake here than it is at Miami. But that should hopefully provide us some good racing if, of course, Oscar Piastri can. It is in second. So, what is my top three for today? I am going to predict. I think it's going to be the same result. I think it's going to be the same result we saw in Miami. I think Max, unfortunately, is going to drop back with those tyres. And I think while he'll fare even better than he did at Miami, I think George will beat him. I think the Mercedes will beat him. It all depends on the deg of the Red Bull. I just don't have a lot of faith in the degradation of that Red Bull. So, you bet it's going to be a banger. And you bet me Slovenian chocolate for an English one. What do we need to do? So yeah, I'm going. Sorry. So going back to my predictions, guys, I'm going Piastri first, Norris second, Russell third. I think it's gonna be the same as Miami, and I think George may. Will he overtake Max out on track? I don't know if he'll overtake Max out on track, but I think he will maybe pip him in the pits or something again. So. Hey Tiger, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Welcome, everyone. Yes, hope you're good. Over 1,100 of you here in the stream. Continue to hit that like button, guys. Let's get this stream to 1,000 likes before the race starts, can we? 18 minutes until the race gets underway. So, is there any information that I need to relay to you guys about the starting grid for today? Well, there is. Let's change scene, shall we? And let's get everything set up again. Oh, they've taken... Is that George Russell's transponder again? Yeah. So you remember we've had issues with George Russell's transponder? Bit off topic here, guys, but the TV coverage right now is there's an FIA representative and they are changing over the transponder of George Russell's car. Now, remember, we've had issues with George Russell's transponder, particularly in Bahrain. There was issues again with it in Miami, and they're changing it. They're swapping it over for today's race. So hopefully we don't have any issues with with George Russell's transponder today, and we can actually see where he is out on track rather than guessing, because it makes my life very difficult when I don't know where one of the front runners is, you know. Right. Just setting up, guys. Bear with me. Just putting everything back to where it needs to be. Thank you for all the subs coming in, by the way. Much appreciated. George doesn't have he has a subscription issue. Oh, Ronaldo. R9 on the pit walk. Lovely. R9, my favourite footballer to watch growing up. The GOAT, in my opinion. Best striker ever. What a player. Yeah, hopefully Russell isn't jumping all over the track again with a transponder. Yeah, hopefully. That's what we're hoping for. Hey, James, good to see you, mates. Live on Twitch and YouTube. Yeah, I am live on Twitch as well, if you'd prefer to go over there and watch me on Twitch. So just starting to live stream on both platforms now. So if you want to go and support me over there, you can do. Drop us a follow. Of course, your Prime subs as well. Don't forget those Prime subs that you have, guys. Much appreciated as always. Hopefully the stream is working okay. I'm not sure. G.I. Doe, if the system's delayed the red flag status, red flag got implemented 3 seconds too late. Got some updated systems without delay. Justice for Bearman. Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you, buddy, from your message earlier. Apologies, I missed that. Here's hoping George's transponder doesn't show him flying across the track map. Fingers crossed, guys. Fingers crossed. So, yes. So let's run through... Well, I'll run through the grid today. Is there anything really to take note of? Well, yes, there is. The only real changes are that Colapinto has somehow still been managed to change, even with that damage that he had on the front end of his car, is still starting from the grid. However, he was given a one-place grid penalty, similar to what we saw George Russell when the Mercedes team had, or Antonelli, they sent their drivers out at the end of the pit lane when the FIA had given them an estimated time of the session being resumed, not the official confirmation. So that's exactly what Colapinto got a one-place grid penalty for. And of course, that crash means that he is starting down in 16th and not any higher up. There we go. Risk of rain confirmed there of 20%. So I did check the weather radar, and it did seem that it was potentially... I mean, I couldn't see anything in the air, to be perfectly honest with you. So, Ferrari have struggled for years now, ever since Vettel left. Yeah. Hey, Bradley, good to see you, mate. Am I doing the full season, Sean? Yes, I am. Yes. The only time I will not do a watch-along is if, of course, there's, like, an emergency. Or if I maybe am fortunate enough to go and attend my first F1 race ever this season. So we will see if that is a potential. So that's not guaranteed, but yeah, I would probably have to forfeit doing a watch along there. But I'll try and make every single session that I can. I think in a couple of weeks' time, Barcelona, unfortunately, I will not be able to do the practice on the Friday, both of them, because I have a work commitment, my day job, that I'll have to attend. But I will be here across the weekend, of course, for every important session. Way, James, 17 months now, man. Much appreciated. Oh, sorry, DGK. You can. There's a limit on the amount of emojis you can post. Max got this one. The start will be this time better than Miami. Max got this covered. Well, he's starting on the inside line, ladies and gents. So that's very important for Max Verstappen, of course. Ahead at the apex rule has slightly shifted, as we have found out that you don't have to be fully ahead at the apex now. You just need your front wheels as the inside driver, your front axle basically, alongside the rear view mirrors of the driver ahead of you on the outside. If you have that, then it's your corner and you are able to drive the car on your outside off of the track, like Piastri did with Verstappen and as he did with Kimi Antonelli in the sprint race as well. Hey, Ollie. Welcome, buddy. Good to see you. Who do I think will win? I still think Piastri will win, but I'm hoping that Verstappen will get ahead of Piastri down into the first corner because it will provide us a much more intriguing race today, I think so. Track temperature not looking good. It's 45 degrees track temp at the moment. So, yes, that is a lot hotter than what the drivers have seen in qualifying and so forth. But, I mean, yeah, the hotter it is, the worse it's going to be for tyre management. The cooler it is, the better it will be for them. But we have seen the track temperatures fluctuate quite dramatically this weekend throughout a session. Yesterday in qualifying, it was like 10 degrees different sometimes, depending whether the sun was out or behind the clouds. It's not looking overcast from the TV coverage that I've got. It's nice and sunny. I'm quite surprised there's 20% chance of rain in the air. Who knows if that will come in later on. As I said, check the weather radar, and I didn't see anything in particular. So, you think starting on the hards is the best bet? I think those in the top 10 will start on the mediums. I think Leclerc and Hamilton have to start on the hards. They've at least got to split their strategy. But I think, considering where Leclerc is and where Hamilton is, I think you've got to start on the hard compound tyre. You're just not going to be able to make as much headway here, other than maybe the first lap. So, often it is not the race leader that makes the race interesting. The top 10 should make it fun. Hopefully. A lot is riding on this race at Imola on the tyre management, on the tyre degradation. Hopefully we do see quite high tyre degradation because that will provide us potential two-stop, which is always more fun. And, of course, some teams are noticeably better on their tyres than others, so there will be an actual tyre difference, a tyre delta difference, and that will provide us some actual racing and some overtaking opportunities, which are few and far between at Imola. So, Hey, Bradley. No problem. No problem. Good to see you back. Good to see you back. Fred will say it's all right. Do I think Doohan's replacement, Colapinto? No, because he's starting down in 16th. No, he's not making up 6 positions to get into the top 10 unless there's a crash, a red flag, or a safety car that he can benefit from. So, Crasher I mean, look, he's just Colapinto, man. All we needed to do was keep it clean yesterday. Keep it clean. And unfortunately, it's not what he's done. And that's why he hasn't got a Red Bull seat right now. Because the Vegas crash supposedly was where Red Bull removed their interest in Colapinto. He was actually on their list to replace Sergio Perez when before Vegas. But that's when they lost interest after that driver error of him crashing into the barrier. A very costly error for Williams as well. And, well, he started his first race back and he's crashed in qualifying. So, do I think Tsunoda... No, Tsunoda won't score points today. No, Tsunoda will be deployed today as a blocker for the McLarens. That's what they used Sergio Perez for last year. I think Perez started in the bottom half. He went out in Q1 and they basically ran him very long and they used him as a blocker for when the McLarens came on their outlap. And actually, Perez held up Norris for a single lap last year that turned out being arguably very influential to the race win for Verstappen because that gap was less than a second when Norris and Verstappen crossed the finish line. So that one lap of holding Norris back and hurting his tyres and losing him that time arguably allowed Verstappen to win that race, at least more comfortably than he potentially could have done in the end. Rob Sticks, if a racer starts in the pit lane, when does he start racing? When the lights go out or after the last driver has passed? When the last driver has passed. So yes, they're not able to exit the pit lane until the last driver has crossed the start-finish line. I think it's the start-finish line or after they've passed the pit lane exit. I think it's after they've passed the pit lane exit, basically. So yeah, they can only join the track once everyone's gone past, basically. I don't know the exact point. It's either cross the start-finish line or it's past the pit exit line. I think it might be the pit exit line, actually. So, yeah. So you're not able to basically start from the pit lane and join in 10th, you know. You're not able to do that. Sorry to say, but Yuki stands 0 chances of points. Yeah, the only way Yuki scores points today is if there is a red flag. And he's going long and he ends up like benefiting from that track position, which is not out of the realm of possibility. We've seen basically any crash here at any crash here at Imola will probably result in a red flag because there's not a lot of room for error. So, but welcome everyone. Welcome for tuning in. As always, we are 7.5 minutes until the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix gets underway. Who is going to win this race today? We have 63 laps here at Imola. It is bright and sunny. Track temperature is 45 degrees. There is a 20% chance of rain, but looking at the weather report that I've seen, that should be flipped round the other way and it should be 0.2% or 2% chance of rain. I don't think we're going to see any rain at all, which, to be honest with you, it could spice things up if we got rain, but I think it should be spicy enough with these track temperatures, with these softer compound tyres that we're running here this year compared to last year, and Tyre Deg is going to provide us some closer battles out up front. I think we saw, I watched the F2 race earlier and there was, with that tyre difference, there was opportunities for overtakes for sure. So hopefully we get that in F1. We do know F1 is a different kettle of fish. So, hey, Stacey, good to see you. Welcome everyone. But welcome everyone for tuning in. Welcome everyone for tuning in as always. Will the Imola Ghost visit McLaren? Who knows? Who knows? Formation lap win in 6 minutes' time. 6 minutes' time. Imola last year was the first race you watched on my channel, and you've been watching ever since. Thank you, Freda. Much appreciated. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And then if it's your first time here, please hit the subscribe button. And if it's your umpteenth time here and you haven't still yet hit that subscribe button, what's holding you back? Please do hit that subscribe button. If you're on Twitch as well, please hit the follow button. Be much appreciated. But yeah, not long to go. Not long to go. Hit your get your poll results in, guys. By the way, get your results in. We have 1,500 votes at the moment, and well, it is overwhelmingly Oscar Piastri as the race winner. 25% think Verstappen, 9% at the moment think Lando Norris, and 4% think George Russell. So I will probably end that soon. I'll win that soon. Actually, I'm going to end that now because that's overwhelmingly Oscar Piastri. I'm going to run another poll. I'm going to run another poll on YouTube that I think where will, and this is including both drivers, by the way, just either or Ferrari. Now, the reason why I've included DNF in this poll, where will Ferrari finish, is because there is a stat, an unwanted stat for Ferrari, that the last 2 times that they have failed to make it out of Q2, both drivers, they have finished with 0 points, and both of them are DNF'd. In 2020 in Monza, and in, where was it? It was... Where was it last year that they did it? Where was it? I can't remember where it was. Bear with me. I had the stat up. I think it was Canada. Canada last year. Canada. I have to admit, as a Max fan, the only way I see Max winning is a red flag, rain, or Piastri choking. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Not long to go, guys. 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes until the formation lap gets underway. I hope you are ready. I hope you're prepared. I hope you've got your drinks, your snacks, because it's going to be an interesting one. The first lap, of course, the first corner, which technically is turn 2. I don't see turn 1 being a corner. It's a kink, you know. That is going to be blockbuster. We've seen incidences there before. Of course, these cars are very large these days in F1. The largest, the heaviest they've ever been. And, well, there's not a lot of room for those cars to go side by side through the first corner, first few corners, actually. So we could see some contact. Thank you for the subs all flying in, by the way, guys. Much, much appreciated. I am now going to mute the alert box because, of course, we want to focus on the commentary and the race at hand. Right, I'm going to quickly have a loo break, and when I come back, we should have the tyre blankets removed, and we'll find out who is going to start on the medium and who is going to go for that alternative strategy starting on the hard compound tyre. You've got to suspect that anyone outside the top 10 is going to try that alternative strategy at a track where it is difficult to overtake. Back in a sec. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Let's have a look at that just quickly before I go. So, everyone on the mediums, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton on the split strategy. Okay, I thought they might both gamble on the hard compound tyre, but Hamilton on the hards, Leclerc on the mediums, Antonelli on the hards. Correct decision in my opinion, as expected. Sonoda Stein on the hard compound tyre as well, trying to go as long as possible on the hard compound tyre as he's starting from the pit lane, hoping for maybe a late safety car or a red flag to benefit from. It's his only way he's going to score points and move up the order today, you do suspect. But everyone, as predicted, starting on the mediums in the top 10. A little bit surprised Leclerc's on the mediums, but split strategy, I guess that's a viable decision for Ferrari. Right, quick loop break. Let's go. Right. Here we go. Ooh. Oh, lordy lord. Ferrari can't handle a different strategy. Right. I washed my hands. Of course I washed my hands. Of course I did. Right, McLaren couldn't win a race for 10 years and now winning races for fun. Unreal dominance. Yeah, it's what happens. Why is that pole not ending? I thought I ended that pole. Oh, let's unpin that and see if that sorts it out. Got issues with the pole still there. We've got 30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds until the formation leg gets underway. Not long to go, not long to go. Welcome everyone for tuning in as always. Once again, if you can hit that like and subscribe button, let's get to 1,000 likes before the race actually gets underway. That'd be brilliant. So thank you for tuning in. But yes, if you are just tuning in, we are moments away from the formation lap getting started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we should be going. Here we go. Thank you, Ted. Much appreciated. It's always a big compliment that you guys that you mute the official broadcast and listen to this commentary. So yes, thank you, thank you. Right, so Oscar Piastri leads everyone around for this formation lap, and it won't be long until this race gets underway. And let's have a run through our grid for today, shall we? Oscar Piastri on pole position again. He is looking to extend his championship lead, which is currently at 16 points over Lando Norris, who is starting in 4th place. Of course, Max Verstappen looking to close that gap and take 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship today. He is starting on the inside of Oscar Piastri, heading down into turn 2. So that is going to be blockbuster for Max Verstappen and Piastri down into the first corner. I fully expect Max to shove Piastri off there. We will see what occurs. George Russell is starting in P3. Could have potentially snatched pole position yesterday on that medium compound tyre, but still P3. 2nd row start for him is good for George. Quietly going about his business in this championship. Lando Norris, we know, poor qualifying from him in P4. Work to do for the Britishman. British driver, sorry. Alonso, best qualifying in God knows how long for Fernando Alonso in years, starting in P5. Brilliant for him. He's going to make that Aston Martin as wide as he possibly can today. That is going to be blockbuster to keep an eye on. Of course, he has Carlos Sainz, who is doing wonders in that Williams, as is Alex Albon in 6th and 7th. They'll be looking to make a quick start in the Williams. Lance Stroll starting in 8th for good qualifying from him as well. Not often we see Lance Stroll in Q3. Isaac Hadjar in P9. Expected more of him in qualifying. He was upset that he wasn't able, with a costly mistake, one that the same Colapinto made, but he was able to control it. Ian Gasly also made a mistake in qualifying as well in P10. Leclerc and Hamilton, we don't need to say much more about Ferrari on the split strategy there. Starting on the mediums is Leclerc and Hamilton on the hard compound tyre. Antonelli also starting on the hard as well. Poor qualifying from him at his home race. Bortoletto is starting in 14th after being the beneficiary of Ollie Bearman, of course, not making it across the line for that red flag. A dubious decision by the FIA. Lawson starting in 15th. Colapinto, who crashed and got a one-place grid penalty, did qualify 15th, but starting in 16th. Hulkenberg is starting 17th. Esteban Ocon, who has not been at the races in that Haas, is starting in 18th. Ollie Bearman, we mentioned, unfortunately, that red flag meant he didn't make it through Q1 when he should have easily got through Q1 into Q2, starting 19th. And Tsunoda is starting in 20th after that massive crash yesterday where he went into a barrel roll and ruined his car. So he's starting in 20th without setting a lap time. So moments away here, guys. Moments away for this race getting underway. Thank you for tuning in as always. Let's see what this has in store for us. Remember, hit that like and subscribe button. Trying to hit 45,000 subs today would be absolutely tremendous. Big thank you. But it is going to be an absolute blockbuster run down into turn 2 where Max Verstappen is starting on the inside line. Will he be able to get those wheels alongside the rear view mirrors of that McLaren of Oscar Piastri, which will afford him the right of passage into that turn 2 corner and force Oscar Piastri out of racing room? We will see as Ollie Bearman lines up at the back of the grid here. We are moments away, and well, as Tsunoda makes his way to the end of the pit lane, it is a bit of a delay and the lights are out. Away we go. And how good of a start has Oscar Piastri been able to do? He has done tremendously well off the start recently, but it's a long run down into turn 2. And Oscar Piastri, I think George Russell, who did have issues with his transponder earlier on, is running down the back of the field here. And I think Russell's had a very poor start. We'll see. But I think Max Verstappen has got to head into turn 2 as we predicted he would do. Piastri still on the track here, but Verstappen leads into turn 2 from Oscar Piastri. And well, this will provide us a tremendous race here today as Charles Leclerc makes up positions, as Bearman loses a position to Nico Hülkenberg there. But George Russell, a bit of a delay on the data at the start of this race, is indeed in third place. Norris unable to make a position there, but Verstappen, a brilliant start from him as he went around the outside of Oscar Piastri, actually. He was late on the brakes. Unbelievable move by Max Verstappen on Oscar Piastri. He didn't go down the inside, he went around the outside. Tremendous late braking from Max Verstappen, and Oscar Piastri had the foresight and awareness to see that Verstappen was around his outside. Not aggressive there from Piastri. He got caught napping by the Dutchman, and well, now Verstappen is leading by 1 second from Oscar Piastri, with George Russell in P3, Lando Norris is in P4, with Alonso in P5, Sainz in 6th, Albon in 7th, Stroll is 8th, Gasly's made up a position into P9 as Hadjar has lost 2 positions to Gasly and Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton's actually lost a position to Kimi Antonelli as we cross the start-finish line for the first time. Max Verstappen is leading just under a second from Oscar Piastri as DRS is now activated, but that was a brilliant move by Max Verstappen down into turn 2, late on the brakes, and well, we thought Piastri would be smart about the inside line, but maybe just too cautious at the start of this race. We do predict that Red Bull will struggle a little bit more on their race pace with their tyres compared to the McLaren, so potentially Piastri just playing the long game and knows that he can maybe get Max Verstappen later on at this Imola circuit. But Max Verstappen, job number 1 done, and that's what we needed for an interesting race here at Imola today. Happy days, Max Verstappen. There's been contact with Esteban Ocon somewhere. Not entirely sure what's occurred as Ocon is coming out of the pit lane and is already onto the hard compound tyre. So Esteban Ocon having to make a very premature pit stop there. Not entirely sure what has happened. Of course, these large, big F1 cars, the largest in F1 history. There is not a lot of racetrack for these drivers as they headed through the first couple of corners. So I'm watching the replay, and I'll tell you what, mate, Max Verstappen was tremendous there. I think, would Oscar Piastri have been entitled to force Max out of room there? Maybe. As I'm looking at it back, I'd have to have a look again at an onboard. But regardless, Oscar Piastri was kind to Max Verstappen there. And, well, he is now 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds back from Max Verstappen already, who will be wanting to pull out a lead. Not entirely sure still what happened with Ocon and where that contact has occurred, which is why he had to have a change of a front wing, which is why he is so far off the pack right now. His weekend has gone from bad to worse. A struggling weekend for Esteban Ocon. But at the moment, it's Max Verstappen leading from Oscar Piastri, 1.4 seconds. Russell 1 second back as well from the McLaren, as Norris is also further back. The top 8 are as they are, well, other than Verstappen and Piastri, the top 8 are as they started. But Leclerc, fastest in the first sector for him. He's up in position and he's trying to chase down Pierre Gasly, and he's got past Pierre Gasly as Gasly is falling through the field here. Gasly has an issue. Unfortunately. He's falling through the field. It was expected to be a good weekend for the Alpine driver. What has occurred there? Is it a mechanical issue, or did he just run wide? Did Leclerc potentially force him out of racing room? We will see. I'm waiting to see the replay of Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly, and I think through the hairpin there, I think Leclerc has forced... No, so actually it's on the run up to turn 9. I'm watching the replay now, and what happened? Charles Leclerc was on the inside, and Gasly just, understeered through the gravel, and he is okay. He is continuing, and well, Leclerc left him plenty of room, and Gasly just understeered, didn't have enough grip to carry the speed required through turn 9, and just bounced his way through. Very good car control in the end. Very easily could have gone into a spin there, but that's why Gasly is now down into 14th place. He's lost 5 positions there. 4 from where he started, but Charles Leclerc is on a charge on that medium compound tyre. He was not a happy bunny yesterday, of course, after qualifying, apologising to the Tifosi as Hadjar was gone fastest in the first sector. Of course, he's a man who was angry after yesterday's qualifying, but Charles Leclerc, probably the angriest man after qualifying yesterday, is looking to overtake the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll now. But at the front, it is Verstappen leading 1.5 seconds from Oscar Piastri, with George Russell a further 1.6 seconds behind. There's a gap considerably forming now, you can see, from George Russell to Oscar Piastri, and it's all aboard the Russell train with Norris close behind. He'll be looking to try and clear the McLaren driver as quick as possible so that he doesn't lose touch with the front 2 like he did in Miami, in particular his teammate, who he was unable to sufficiently close in the remainder of that race. But as we cross the start-finish line for the 5th time as we approach the 5th lap of this 63-lap race. 59 laps remaining, a very long way to go. Verstappen leads from Oscar Piastri. A great move from him on the outside down into turn 2. If you're just joining us, an unbelievable late-breaking move by Verstappen. Piastri was very, very fair and calm in that defence. I think, looking at it back, he probably had the entitlement to maybe force Max out of room. I need to look at it back, or maybe Max was so good late on the brakes that he actually was deemed to be ahead at the apex. Of course, you need to be further alongside if you're overtaking around the outside of a car at the apex. It's not like when you're on the inside that you have to be just alongside the rear view mirrors. You actually have to have your front axle ahead of the car on the inside, so you need to cover more ground to be entitled to that space, and maybe that's what Max Verstappen was able to do. But regardless, brilliant car control from him, which is why he's leading 1.5 seconds ahead of Piastri now. Russell falling back from the McLaren of Oscar Piastri at the moment, as Norris is 0.8 seconds further behind. Fernando Alonso P5, Sainz P6, Albon P7, Stroll P8, as Leclerc is closing down, and probably the closest out of anyone out on the track at the moment. He is, yes, he's less than half a second behind the Aston Martin of Stroll. So I think we'll stay on board with Leclerc at the moment to see how his exit is out of the second Ravazza, which is turn 18. First Ravazza turn 17, second Ravazza turn 18. And well, with DRS open, how is his exit out of the corner? He lost a little bit of time there. Of course, the DRS train forming at the moment is going to make it tricky for the Ferrari to get past Lance Stroll. But looking at the race start on board of George Russell had an unbelievable start, but unfortunately for him, he was unable. As what happened there? George Russell's complaining about Oscar Piastri. He's complaining about Oscar Piastri that he got blocked in, but that's just racing, George. You had actually had a very, very good start. You had a better start than Verstappen. You had a better start than Piastri, but you just got blocked in. He wasn't too happy. And, well, Max saw a gap and went right round the outside of George Russell and of Oscar Piastri. So George Russell, actually, if there was room at Imola there into turn 2, potentially could have got into the lead, but it's unlike other circuits. It is very tight. 2 seconds back now. George Russell is from 2.2 seconds back now. He is from Oscar Piastri, and that gap visibly starting to be formed and seen there, as you can see on the track map. Lando Norris struggling to kind of close down the gap on George Russell at the moment. He has 3 lap older tyres than that of Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc, fastest first sector from him, 2 tenths quicker in the first sector than that of Lance Stroll, but he's coming a bit unstuck in the last sector, in the grip, in the dirty air, but he is closer than he was considerably last time around. Does he have that rear traction out of the last corner? It's kind of okay. It's half a second. Will he have enough? DRS open as they make their way down into turn 2. He will have DRS and the slipstream of the Williams in front of him, though, Lance Stroll. You do suspect that if Lance Stroll loses that DRS of the Williams, he'll be a sitting duck to the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, who does seem to have pace. Lewis Hamilton now seems to have got onto the back of Kimi Antonelli, and maybe these two drivers just biding their time, of course, on the hard compound tyre. Everyone ahead of them, the top 10 now on the medium compound tyre. It is Antonelli and Hamilton who are then on the alternative strategy on the hard compounds. George is slowing down Lando. He is indeed at the moment slowing down Lando. He is losing a considerable amount of time to Piastri at the moment. 1.6 seconds is the gap to the front 2, but of course Piastri probably just happy to sit in a window where he can manage his tyres and eke these out. Of course, they ideally don't want to make a 2-stop strategy if necessary, because of the considerable pit stop time that you lose here, nearly 30 seconds at Imola. So that's why the 1-stop is the preferable strategy here, not the 2-stop, because it's very difficult at a circuit to overtake to try and utilise the extra tyre life that you'll get and make up that time that you'll lose in the pit stop. But Verstappen crosses the line. 8 laps we are now on. We're on the 8th lap, 56 laps remaining. It is Verstappen leading from Piastri. George Russell are 2.5 seconds back, but he is about to come under attack from Lando Norris here, down potentially into turn 2. DRS open for Lando. Is he close enough to get around George Russell? No, he's not. He really needs to make a move and dispatch the Mercedes driver as quick as possible, as Fernando Alonso is trying to make that Aston Martin as wide as possible, as Charles Leclerc lost a bit of time to Lance Stroll in the last sector there, it seems, as Charles Leclerc has fallen back outside of the DRS of Lance Stroll. And, well, Stroll is doing very well to stay onto the back of the train of Alonso. 1.6 seconds back is Alonso to Lando Norris, and, well, This is going to leave him vulnerable, of course, as well. Alonso and Stroll both on older medium compound tyres than those around them. So how quickly will their tyres be able to... how long will they be able to make their tyres last compared to those around them who have 3-lap younger tyres, especially the Williams, who will be chomping at the bit to try and clear them and potentially get onto the back of their engine supplier team, which is Mercedes of George Russell. But let's keep an eye on Lando Norris and George Russell. That is where it's closest on track at the moment. Verstappen is slightly pulling away from Piastri, but Piastri, no doubt, just bedding into this race, looking after his tyres to try and eke him out, and then will close down at the end of this first stint on Verstappen, you do presume. George Russell, let's see here, half a second is the gap between Russell and Norris, but 3 seconds back now. George Russell is starting to lose the effect of the slipstream of Piastri ahead, but how much of a drive does the McLaren have on George Russell? He's going for a move, I think. Lando, no, he's not confident enough on the brakes to have a move on George. George is defending comfortably on the inside there, but the exit is much better from Lando on George Russell here as they go into turn 5. Is it side by side between George Russell? They're neck and neck, and no, George Russell defends from Lando there. George defending into turn 2, put him out of position. It gave the drive an exit to Lando, and Lando was unable to get around George Russell as they headed into turn 5. George defending on the inside once again, making sure that Lando has to cover the extra ground, have that extra speed, and risk to overtake him into turn 5, the corner where Yuki Tsunoda lost control of the car yesterday, the Villeneuve chicane. So, George Russell, though, definitely starting to struggle on these tyres. They are 3 laps older than that of Lando Norris. He used them to qualify and get into P3 yesterday, but Lando is chomping at the bit here to get past. What that has done, fortunately for Fernando Alonso, is allowed him to close back up to these two fighting and give himself the DRS to be able to defend from the Williams behind. So, yes, Lando Norris there just coming a bit unstuck behind George Russell, who's just cleverly positioning in his car, and he really needs an brilliant drive out of the last corner there. But let's see, once again, round 2 for Lando Norris on George Russell. Will he have enough down into turn 2? It looks like he's got a better drive than he did last time around. Will Russell be able to defend from the McLaren here? Yes, he will, as Lando is just holding back as Gasly is decided to pit here. But what about the exit? Is he going to be able to carry the speed and get past George Russell into the Villeneuve chicane? No, George Russell cleverly positions his car again. And well, this is not so much racecraft issue from Lando right now. This is more so brilliant car positioning for George Russell, knowing that it is very difficult to overtake here at Imola. This is track knowledge, and this is what George Russell is currently applying in a slower car and making it more difficult for Lando in the quicker car to overtake. Update on the front 2 at the moment. Verstappen and Piastri, that gap sticking around the 1.7, 1.8 mark. Verstappen, you can see there really that Piastri is just lifting coasting a little bit into corners. You could see there on the entry to turn 14, the Variante Alta chicane, that the gap has actually gone out to around 2 tenths more than it was as they were heading up into that corner. So Oscar Piastri, they're most definitely conserving his tyres at the moment with a bit of lift and coast and on the throttle on exit as well, whereas Verstappen is using a bit more. George Russell, though, and Lando, we go again. Let's see. Lando a bit closer than last time. He's under half a second out of the exit of turn 18. Will he have enough to be able to force the issue and get on the inside as Leclerc is already pitting? So we are starting to see early pit stops here, earlier than expected. And Lando, then George Russell, they're side by side into turn 2, but Russell positions his car again on the inside, and Lando is not able to use that grip and get around him. But they go into turn 5. Does Lando have the drive? It seems like they do. They're side by side into the entry of Villeneuve chicane, and Lando has finally got past George Russell, but George Russell's coming back at him into turn 7. This is allowing Alonso to get back on the rear of them as well, and well, Lando defends into turn 7 and holds off George Russell and finally dispatches the McLaren driver as they headed into turn 7. Wow, great racing between the two friends. And Lando Norris just watching the TV coverage now. George Russell, he could only position his car for so long on the inside, but Lando finally got that extra drive. He got that run that was, so George just covered too much curb on the entry to the Villeneuve chicane, and then Lando in return positioned his car on the inside into turn 7. A great battle there between the two friends. Norris now up into P3, 7.4 seconds back from Oscar Piastri. who has lost a bit of time to Max Verstappen, but is conserving his tyres right now. George Russell, will he fall into the clutches of Fernando Alonso? No, he's into P3. So, he's now into the pit lane. So, the fact that we are seeing pit stops this early, ladies and gentlemen, does lend itself to a two-stop here at Imola today. That is unreal. Charles Leclerc has just gone purple in the first middle sector. How much of an undercut will Charles Leclerc be able to pull here? Let's see. He pitted from 9th position, I believe it was. He was behind Lance Stroll. And will the Aston Martins respond? It seems like no, they are staying out there for now. But the fact that we've seen drivers get off of the medium tyres so quickly does lend this race to a two-stop strategy, which is good for us fans. Brilliant, guys. If you are liking this stream, by the way, hit the like button. Let's get this stream to over 1,000 likes. It'd be much appreciated. Big thank you. And as always, continue to hit that subscribe button if you are enjoying this commentary right now. We'll be here for every single race for this season and every single race, every single session over a race weekend that we possibly can. So yes, big thank you. As always, guys, over 7,000 of you here in the stream right now. Please do. But we are 52 laps remaining in this race. 12 laps completed we are about to achieve. And it is Verstappen leading from Oscar Piastri, who has a 2.7, nearly 3-second lead over Oscar Piastri, who is comfortably just sitting behind Verstappen at the moment, looking after his tyres, no doubt. Norris finally dispatched George Russell at the third time of asking, as Alonso is now pitting. Lance Stroll stays out. So let's see Charles Leclerc. Let's see, has the undercut worked? How many positions can Charles Leclerc gain here? He was 4 positions behind Fernando Alonso. Let's see if Charles Leclerc is going to be able to undercut the Aston Martin of Alonso. Let's see how much time he lost. Charles Leclerc coming around the last corner now. Charles Leclerc has actually undercut George Russell. Not entirely sure what happened with George Russell there. As Piastri is stating, I think Plan A is very ambitious at the moment, so no doubt that's probably the one stop, as it's a purple lap from Charles Leclerc. He's gone out ahead of Alonso. The undercut is tremendous here today, as Charles Leclerc has made up arguably 5 positions, I think, from that early undercut. Have we just seen a good strategy call from Ferrari? I think maybe we have done. The one stop does seem to be a push here today, as Oscar Piastri says Plan A is a bit ambitious at the moment, and you do suspect Plan A is the one stop, which is so often the case here at Imola. Because of that long pit lane, you lose around 29 to 30 seconds here at Imola, and well, because of that, normally it is a one stop, but because we are on a step softer compound than last year, it means that we are seeing the two-stop strategy be the viable choice, as Oscar Piastri dives into the pit lane and is making the first pit stop out of the front 3 just a lap or so after stating that Plan A is ambitious. Yes, this is committance, no doubt, to the two-stop strategy, with 50 laps remaining. 2 hard compound tyres available to use for Oscar Piastri, as there is for Lando Norris and for Max Verstappen as well. But you can see Lando, a 21.92 last time around. How will his pace be compared to Max Verstappen? But of course, they don't want to get undercut. Will there be a split strategy for McLaren here? We could see that for Lando. You do maybe presume, but that's the only way. Barring a safety car or a red flag, he'll have an opportunity at the race win today to try and hold on to track position. But Piastri, no doubt, committing to that two-stop strategy as he comes out into, importantly, clean air. But at the moment, with pit stops being made, Charles Leclerc has leapfrogged Sainz, Alonso and George Russell. An unbelievable strategy called by Ferrari. I'm still not entirely sure what occurred with the pit stop of George Russell. I do presume it was a slow pit stop and there was an issue with it. But how was that stop there for Piastri? It didn't look like a quick stop, to be perfectly honest with you. Looked like one of their slowest ones. For Oscar Piastri, it wasn't great, was it? There was a bit of a tyre that was slow there. But just watching Fernando Alonso's pit stop, what happened with Fernando Alonso? Is this why he lost so much time to Charles Leclerc? And I'm not entirely sure. Oh, he had a brake. His front left brake was on fire. Wow, as he's leaving the pit lane. Fernando Alonso's front brakes were aflame. They were alight as he was exiting the pit lane. Yes, it was a bit of a slow pit stop for Oscar Piastri. Not the quickest in the world. Maybe about a second lost there for Oscar. We'll see how much that will have cost him. But yes, Charles Leclerc, Lance Stroll was in the pits now as well. And I think, look at that. Leclerc has completely undercut the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll. An unbelievable decision Ferrari have made thus far for the Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen, 21.4 last time around compared to Lando Norris's 21.3. We have Albon in P3 at the moment. We've Hadjar up 5 positions into P4, yet to make a pit stop. Every driver I'm mentioning in the top 10 now has yet to make a pit stop and could be going for a one-stop today. This is going to make this race very interesting if we are seeing drivers try and commit to the one-stop, which is a risky strategy today. We've already seen half the field commit to a two-stop, and it seems like half of the field aren't committing to a one-stop. This is what we wanted here at Imola to make things interesting. And, well, Max Verstappen leads 10 seconds from Lando Norris, who did take a little while to dispatch George Russell after some very well-positioned defending for George Russell. Lando finally dispatched him, and he now has clean air and is trying to close down that gap on Max Verstappen. He just did so by 2 tenths that last time around. Alex Albon is now up into P3, doing the one-stop as well. He was on the medium compound tyres. Isaac Hadjar is P4. Antonelli and Hamilton, who are on the hard compound tyre, they are not a lot to separate those two at the moment. Antonelli did leapfrog Hamilton at the race start, and Hamilton's been just comfortably following Antonelli in his DRS for the start of this race for 16 laps now in P6. Hulkenberg is up 10 positions in P7. He is also on the hards. Colapinto up P8 positions into P8. Bearman up into 9th. Yuki into 10th. And it seems really, other than... it seems to be, but really, we have half of the field with half of their drivers, other than Red Bull, as Lance Stroll overtakes Pierre Gasly, we have half of the field splitting their strategy between their drivers. The only team, it seems, that have decided to potentially do a one-stop for their team at the moment for both drivers is Red Bull, with Max Verstappen out front, leading by 9.8 seconds now to Lando Norris, as Lando is starting to eat into the gap of Max Verstappen. It's going to be a while until we see these drivers and how this two-stop and this one-stop strategy works and how it converges out on track, because we have 47 laps remaining. But definitely stay tuned, guys, because this Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix has just got very interesting with the split strategies. I didn't think we were going to see this here today. But guys, please continue to hit the like button if you can. Just watching a replay of an overtake of, was it Liam Lawson here on it was on Esteban Ocon, I think it was. Liam Lawson made an overtake down into turn 2. But at the moment, yes, Verstappen leading 9.7 seconds from Norris. And you can see there, Norris gaining 4 tenths on Verstappen last time around. So Verstappen's tyres, he is still the second quickest out there. At the moment on this medium compound tyre. It is only Norris who is quicker than him. Piastri and Norris, even though Piastri is on a brand new set of hards, Norris is still going as quick as Piastri, setting equal lap times, but Piastri has now caught up to Yuki Tsunoda, so that will play a factor. Piastri now caught traffic on those drivers who are on the one stop, whereas importantly for Norris, he is in clean air, so maybe a McLaren made a mistake here on committing to a two-stop strategy, as Piastri is now caught traffic. He needs to get past Tsunoda, he needs to get past Bearman, he needs to get past Colapinto and Hulkenberg, you do presume by the time those up ahead of him make their one and only pit stop. But at the moment, Piastri will stay tuned and see how he can get past Yuki Tsunoda. Of course, the quicker car, he's on a much fresher tyre. Surely it won't take Piastri too long, but Yuki Tsunoda, radio. As there is indeed team orders. There is team orders coming through for Yuki Tsunoda to fight, of course, for position Oscar Piastri as much as possible. He is Max's race. Red Bull engineers informed Yuki Tsunoda. How long will he be able to fight him off for? Let's see, as Yuki Tsunoda, unfortunately, looks like it's a comfortable overtake for Piastri as they head down into turn 2. Or how hard will Tsunoda be able to fight here? And he doesn't fight for very long, as Tsunoda is overtaken at the first time of asking by Oscar Piastri down into turn 2. But last year, we saw how important that single lap Sergio Perez held up Lando Norris for. We saw how important it was at the end of the race, with the gap being less than a second. Could that there, just maybe that half a lap that he was able to hold up Oscar Piastri, how influential could that be come the end of the race? We will see. At the moment, Lando Norris is 9.9 seconds back from Verstappen. This looks to be a bit of a slower lap time from him compared to Verstappen this time around, so that charge of Lando has faltered a little bit. Alex Albon in P3. He has got a 4.5 second gap to Isaac Hadjar, who is in P4. Antonelli in P5, trying to chase down Isaac Hadjar, and Hamilton, as he has been since the start of this race, after losing that position at the start to Antonelli, is just comfortably sitting in the DRS of Antonelli and just eking out this race to make this one-stop strategy work. Nico Hulkenberg is in P7, Colapinto P8, Bearman in P9, and well, Piastri, I don't think he'll be P9 for long, as Piastri is now on the next lap, or next time around, is got DRS open, and he will be overtaking the Haas driver, no doubt, as they head down into turn 2. This should be an easy overtake for Piastri. He'll get ahead of the Haas driver as they head down into turn 2, into the braking zone, and an easy overtake for Piastri on 13-lap fresher tyres. Dispatches Bearman, and that is very two quick successive overtakes for Oscar Piastri in 2 laps. Charles Leclerc going nicely in P12 at the moment, considering how far behind he was Oscar Piastri at the start of this race. P9 is where he pitted from, and well, Charles Leclerc is now only 3 seconds behind Oscar Piastri, whereas by the time when he first initially pitted, he was considerably more than that behind Oscar Piastri. So a brilliant undercut for Ferrari, but how long will Leclerc be able to take those hard compound tyres? We will see. Do I think Piastri is gaining more time from DRS or losing it from dirty air? It's balancing itself off at the moment. He is ultimately losing time though, Piastri, a 22.1 last time around, compared to his teammate who is up in P2 in clean air, setting a 120.9. Even losing time to Max Verstappen as well, as Max Verstappen did a 21.2 on 19 lap old mediums, and Piastri did a 22.1. So Piastri, no matter how you look at it, is losing time right now as he is about to dispatch Colapinto 3 for 3 in 3 laps as Charles Leclerc is looking to overtake Tsunoda as well. Let's see if Leclerc is going to be able to do it, as Tsunoda is gaining on Bearman, though. It's going to be very tight between the Ferrari driver and the Red Bull driver as they head down into turn 2, and Charles Leclerc just has to wait as Tsunoda is able to hold off Charles Leclerc. But will Charles Leclerc have a better exit out of turn 4? I don't think so, as Tsunoda, I think, lives to fight another day, as he was getting the tow and the DRS from Ollie Bearman up ahead. Otherwise, it would have been a comfortable overtake for Charles Leclerc. But at the moment, Oscar Piastri back up into P8. He now has his sights set on Nico Hulkenberg. In the last 3 successive laps, he has overtaken Tsunoda, Bearman and Colapinto, but he has lost important time while overtaking those drivers compared to his teammate, who is doing, by the looks of it, a one-stop strategy, as is the race leader, Max Verstappen, as well, who has a 9.5 second advantage over Lando Norris. But we'll see how these strategies converge come the end of the race. It's going to be very intriguing indeed. 43 laps remaining here in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Let's get this over to 1,000 likes, shall we? Over 8,000 of you in the stream right now. Much appreciated. Thank you guys for tuning back in as always. And thank you for hitting the subscribe button. I have seen them fly in. If you can continue to do so and get that number at the top right-hand side of your screen up to 45,000, that'd be absolutely brilliant and make my weekend. As there we go again. Charles Leclerc, at the second time of asking, can he dispatch Yuki Tsunoda? And well, I think he's been able to, as Bearman's also looking at an opportunity to get past Colapinto and closes in. And Yuki, importantly there for Leclerc, Yuki lost the DRS and the tow of Ollie Bearman, and that is why that overtake was so much more simple at the second time of asking for Charles Leclerc compared to the previous time around where Yuki had the benefit of the DRS. It does make a big difference. Look at Hamilton. Look at Hamilton at the moment. Hamilton is okay. He's just comfortably sitting in the DRS of Antonelli. He is towing him around. He's doing the one-stop strategy, and he's just looking after these hard compound tyres at the moment. He knows that there's not a point. There's no point at this moment in time for Lewis Hamilton to try and fight Antonelli because he would just lose time to those up ahead of him. So for Hamilton to try and have a decent race here and make this one-stop strategy work, he needs to just keep doing what he's doing, eke out these tyres, and then at the end of the race, he will be on very quick medium compound tyres. But let's have a run through of this grid at the moment as we have 42 laps remaining. Verstappen, as Sainz says, it's clearly a one-stop race if Alex is reported to be doing 21.8. So Carlos Sainz, who has committed to the two-stop strategy, which half of the field have committed to, it seems the one-stop strategy at this moment in time is working, as does seem the most viable option, as Hulkenberg is dispatched by Piastri. And, well, this is it, isn't it, really, is that how much time they still need to make another pit stop, or can they make this second pit stop? Can they make this hard compound tyre run to the end? But how much time will they lose? And I suppose the question is will these medium compound tyres fall off of a cliff? But those who have committed to a stop at the start as Hamilton is saying we definitely want to undercut these guys. There is no gap right now. We are not ruling out plan C. Understood, Hamilton replies. So, at the moment, yes, Lewis Hamilton cannot pit due to the closeness of those cars behind him. He would be pitting out right probably where Stroll and Gasly are. Of course, he'd come out on fresher tyres, but it's not a foregone conclusion to overtake here, especially if you get caught in a DRS train. Charles Leclerc has caught up to the back of Ollie Bearman. He's still stuck behind Ollie Bearman. He's been stuck behind him for a few laps now as Bearman is getting the toe and the slip and the DRS of Colapinto up ahead, but you do suspect that Leclerc will be able to dispatch him pretty soon. But yes, the one-stop strategy. Those on the hard compound tyre right now who have made a pit stop already, they could go to the end. But will that hard compound tyre last as Colapinto moves out of the way of Ollie Bearman to Charles Leclerc's glee as it gives Charles Leclerc a DRS on Ollie Bearman. Bearman no slipstream, and this should be a comfortable overtake for Leclerc on Bearman down into turn 2. Of course, Ollie Bearman, a Ferrari junior driver, a potential future Ferrari driver, and Leclerc dispatches him down into turn 2, and it gives him a bit of free air. As George Russell says, the rear track rod or something is broken because the rears are moving. Oh dear, George Russell reporting mechanical issues on that Mercedes car as he is in P12 at the moment. And he's trying to overtake Yuki Tsunoda. So George Russell complaining potentially of mechanical issues in that Mercedes. And we'll stay tuned to see how George Russell's progression gets on. But yes, let's have a run through of this grid again after we got distracted from a few overtakes there occurring at Imola, which I am pleasantly surprised to see. I'm not complaining whatsoever. Max Verstappen is leading from Lando Norris by 9.1 seconds at the moment. He is committed to a one-stop strategy with Piastri committed to the two-stop. Lando is in P2, Albon is in P3, Hadjar is in P4, Antonelli is P5 with Hamilton in P6. Piastri, who has already made a pit stop and is on the hard compound tyre now, is in P7. He is looking to close down Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Antonelli. Hulkenberg is in P8, up 9 positions. Leclerc, who made that very early undercut on a number of drivers, he's made up around 4 or 5 positions, I think it is from memory, and he's up into P9 at the moment with the majority of the field still to make a pit stop ahead of him. He is in P9. Bearman is in P10, up 9 positions as well, as is Yuki, who started from the pit lane in P11. George Russell in P12, we just mentioned, reporting issues with the rear of his car, potential mechanical issues there. He's not happy with how his Mercedes is handling. Sainz in P13, who is not happy that they've committed to the two-stop strategy and thinks it is a one-stop, as his teammate is up in P3 at the moment. Sainz in 13th. Alonso in 14th and Stroll in 15th. Maybe Aston Martin staying out there a bit too long on those those used medium compound tyres at the start of this race. Gasly in P16, he's already had an excursion through the gravel which lost him 5 positions earlier on in the race. Lawson is in 17th, Bortoleto is in 18th, Ocon in 19th, and Colapinto, who is on his outlap, is in 20th at the moment, but still a very long way to go in this race, not even halfway through yet, and we still have that convergence of those different strategy options be meeting out on track, which is going to make things very interesting in the second half of this race, guys. Max engine is good at the moment. Easy pull away from Oscar at the start. Yes, potentially, but it could have been Oscar maybe looking after. I don't know. I thought Oscar was potentially lift and coasting, but I could be wrong. The fact of it, they've committed to the two-stop strategy, but you can see there Oscar, as he was in clean air, pushing to the drivers up ahead. Hamilton and Antonelli set a fastest lap for him today, a 20.698. That's fastest driver out on circuit. But at the moment, Norris not able to close up the gap on Verstappen. That gap staying consistent around 9.2, 9.3 seconds at the moment. But Piastri is now closing up to Lewis Hamilton. He's within the DRS. He's he's around half a second mark on Lewis Hamilton. And well, how hard will Lewis Hamilton fight this battle with Oscar Piastri? No doubt he'll probably just comfortably let him go. It's not his fight today, and he will try and capitalise, no doubt, on Piastri potentially forcing Antonelli out of position, or Isaac Hadjar. That would be the smart move for Lewis Hamilton. We'll see if he decides to maybe let Piastri through down into turn 17. I don't suspect he will do, but no doubt it will be an easy overtake for Piastri down into turn 2, unless Hamilton does fight this a bit harder than we think. Red Bull is probably waiting for the gap to Hadjar to increase, so Max comes out in front of that train. Yes, it is a 30-second pit stop lost time, so it's not far off for Max Verstappen with a almost a free pit stop to Isaac Hadjar. But let's see here, Hamilton, yes, easy overtake for Piastri on Hamilton down into turn 2, and that is a smart decision for Hamilton. It's not his race today, Lewis Hamilton and Oscar Piastri, and we'll see if he can capitalise on maybe Piastri getting past Antonelli and sneaking an extra position there as Leclerc has closed up the gap on Hulkenberg into P9. But yes, it's they're looking at that gap to Hadjar, which now has got to 30 seconds. So not quite a comfortable gap to Hadjar, but nearly. They probably want a couple more seconds just in case they have a slow pit stop. But Verstappen could make a pit stop now and come out ahead of Isaac Hadjar. That is where he is at. Lando Norris doesn't have that fortune. He would be pitting out behind that pack of Hadjar, Antonelli, Piastri and Hamilton. So that's not where he wants to be. But Verstappen, importantly, if he pitted now, which he's not going to, he would, yes, come out ahead of Isaac Hadjar. So Piastri, and there's nearly that convergence out on circuit where Piastri would come out just behind Verstappen. If he overtakes Antonelli and Hadjar pretty quickly, then it would be very close on pit exit between Piastri and Verstappen. But Verstappen would have, at the moment, 13 lap fresher hard compound tyres available to him, whereas Piastri, of course, would have 14 lap old tyres, as Piastri is about to overtake Antonelli quite comfortably down into turn 2. And for Lewis Hamilton, that's probably not what he wanted to see. Very comfortable there as Hulkenberg is being overtaken by Nico Hulkenberg has been overtaken by Charles Leclerc there down into turn 2. So comfortable overtake for both Piastri and Charles Leclerc there. And Charles Leclerc is now up into P8, but with those still yet to make a pit stop up ahead of him, with his teammate, with Antonelli, with Hadjar, he has made up a considerable amount of time with this undercut, and it's been a very, very aggressive drive from Leclerc today thus far, just setting the purple first sector out of anyone. So good so far from Charles Leclerc. Will Verstappen win it? He could do. It's going to be very close. Now, has Piastri going to be... I don't think Piastri is going to be able to take this hard compound tyre to the end of the race. He could do, but I think it would be a tall order to do so. So there could be another pit stop. There could be a charge at the end of this race for Oscar Piastri, as that gap to Verstappen and as Isaac Hadjar at the moment is 32 seconds. So Verstappen and Red Bull wanting to extend this first stint, and well, Norris's tyres are starting to fall off a bit more. As Albon is stating, guys, come on, let's not be stupid. And they said, okay, mate, you're doing a great job thus far. You're putting away from Hadjar, which Albon is doing, as Piastri dispatches Hadjar. 3 comfortable overtakes for the McLaren driver in succession on Hamilton, Antonelli and Isaac Hadjar. And, well, that has now put him fully within the pit stop window of Max Verstappen, but of course there is the prediction that he will be making another pit stop. So 32 seconds is the gap to Piastri and Verstappen now. Verstappen, if they made a good pit stop, Red Bull, he would come out around a second or so ahead of Piastri. It would be very close between him, and of course Verstappen would have fresher tyres available to him, as Piastri has already done 14 laps on this set of hards. But Verstappen still continuing on at the moment as he crosses the start-finish line for the 29th time as we start the 29th lap of this race. 35 laps remaining as it currently stands. Verstappen taking that lead at the first time of asking into turn 1 as Lando Norris pits from P2. Where is he going to come out on? He can't last any longer. He was starting to lose time to Verstappen, so Lando Norris's tyres, where he had to potentially use a bit more of their tyre life at the start of the race, which promotes Albon into P2. Where is Lando going to come out? He's going to come out, no doubt, behind Charles Leclerc, I think. It's going to be close as he exits the pit lane. Of course, Charles Leclerc is going to be, as Ocon has pulled over here. Esteban Ocon has pulled over. And, well, that is not a safe place for your car to be unless he's pulled that over in a safe place. Has he crashed? Is it a mechanical issue? He pitted very early on for a front wing damage. And, well, Esteban Ocon, the yellow flag is out. They're waiting a very long time to assess whether or not this will be a safety car or a VSC. So has he been able to pull that car? And it's a VSC, and Lando has just pitted. Lando has just pitted, and he has just missed out on a 10-second advantage. Max Verstappen, who comes around the last corner right now, He's about to get a 10-second advantage in a pit stop here. Unbelievable timing of the VSC. Unbelievable poor timing for Lando as he just took the full extent of a pit stop. Unbelievably great timing for Max Verstappen, because unless this goes to a full safety car, Max Verstappen is going to gain 10 seconds over Oscar Piastri, who was fully within his pit window. It was going to be neck and neck as Verstappen would come out the pit lane, but now it's going to be comfortable for Max. So let's see if this VSC, and so just looking at the TV coverage, it is a mechanical failure for Esteban Ocon, and he's parked on the grass on the left-hand side. So on the inside here, where his icon is, he's basically here. I'm not entirely sure how that could be. Why? I'm surprised that's not a full safety car, to be perfectly honest with you, but we'll see. As look at the gap between Piastri and Verstappen. Unbelievable fortune for Max Verstappen there as the VSC came out. 24 seconds is the gap to Verstappen and Piastri right now. Lando Norris, he could have been a lot closer to Verstappen, or at least been ahead of his teammate fighting for this race win. But both McLarens missing out on that VSC, and that has been, sometimes you're on the side of a good safety car, sometimes you're not. And well, pitting just one lap too early. Max Verstappen, Lando Norris has not benefited from that VSC, and Max Verstappen has, as we have all drivers who are yet to make a pit stop dive into the pit lane. George Russell is on another pit stop as well. As Charles Leclerc is also reporting, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Cannot believe it. As he has also pitted and come out behind Lance Stroll. So Charles Leclerc, who was making such good headway here, unfortunately for him, with everyone who was due to pit ahead of him, and he would have leapfrogged them all, has now unfortunately ended up on the wrong side of it, and he's now in P10. His teammate, who is on the mediums, is ahead of him, as is Isaac Hadjar, as is Antonelli. A real shame there for Charles Leclerc, because he was doing an unbelievable job in the first half of this race to recover, but he hasn't. And well, I'm still quite surprised, ladies and gentlemen, that the VSC is still out. I'm quite surprised we haven't had a safety car right now. Will we get a safety car? But at the moment, Max, with everyone making a pit stop now, as that has afforded everyone to make a pit stop, whether they were going to commit to the two-stop or not, Verstappen leads from Oscar Piastri, currently a 22-second gap, as he has extended his advantage out front because of the VSC. A 10-second pit stop advantage you get under VSC or safety car conditions compared to green flag. Oscar Piastri is in P2. He's now pitting from the lead. Okay, Oscar Piastri has had to pit. Wow, Oscar Piastri not going to the end of this race. I guess he's got to put a new set of boots on, as he is going to be relinquishing P2 to his teammate and to Alex Albon, as the track is now clear. Virtual safety car is ending, and well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be close with Oscar Piastri on the exit, as we could be going green flag conditions, and Oscar Piastri does stay out ahead of Isaac Hadjar and Kimi Antonelli. That would have been very, very unfortunate circumstances there for Piastri, as Charles Leclerc instantly is on the rear of Lance Stroll. He's angry. Charles Leclerc, is he going to get past Lance Stroll down into turn 2, and Stroll defends valiantly from Charles Leclerc. He says, no, you're not getting past me, but no doubt it will only be a moment of time before Lance Stroll is overtaken by Leclerc, who is on brand new tyres compared to Stroll, who is on 17 lap tyres, as is Fernando Alonso. But what that has done is that, barring a safety car or a complete fall-off in tyres for Max Verstappen, Max is going to comfortably win this race. He has massively benefited from that safety car, and well, he now has a 20-second advantage over Lando Norris, who is in P2, with Piastri, who is on a fresh set of medium compound tyres. They committed to a two-stop strategy early on, and that VSC has thrown a spanner in the works for a number of drivers here, but most notably Oscar Piastri, who is now on the mediums. He has to chase down a 7.5-second gap to Alex Albon, who is on merit in P3 in that Williams. Unbelievable going for Alex Albon right now. And just look at the flip side of the two Williams drivers. Carlos Sainz committed to the two-stop strategy. Williams split the strategy, and now look at where he is in 15th. Unbelievable turn of circumstances there for the Williams drivers. And no fault of Carlos Sainz at all, as Stroll is under attack from Charles Leclerc, as is Isaac Hadjar with Kimi Antonelli at his home race. And Isaac Hadjar defends from Antonelli as Charles Leclerc dispatches Stroll before they even get into turn 2. Bearman into the pits now. What has happened to Ollie Bearman? Is that an early retirement from him? He is on a brand new set of tyres. It could be a double retirement for Haas as their engine just went. The engine just cut out as Ocon had to pull over to the side. So a mechanical issue there for him. But that's 2 races in a week. That's 2 race weekends in a row as well. Ollie Bearman, I think it could be a double retirement for both Haases, which is a real shame here as Ollie Bearman was on a brand new set of mediums. And what a shame as Max Verstappen goes fastest of everyone thus far today at 20.0. He has a 19.5 second gap to Lando Norris. And well, I guess Lando just has to manage his tyres now, see this to the end. It's more about securing points over his teammate than it is on Max and making sure that if they did have a late safety car, we are only just really at the halfway point of this race. A very long way to go in this race still. And it's all to play for. If there is a late safety car, which could be potential, there could be a potential of, you need to make sure that you've got grip at the end, as Lando did go half a second quicker than that of Max Verstappen last time around. What a turn of events this race has had right now, guys. Max Verstappen leads from Lando Norris by 19 seconds. Alex Albon is in P3, 6.7 second gap to them as Charles Leclerc gets past Fernando Alonso now and is up into P8. George Russell, who has had a real turn of misfortune here with both of his pit stops. The timing of his pit stops is up into P11 after just overtaking Nico Hülkenberg. But Norris in P2, Alex Albon in P3. Piastri is chasing down on a fresh set of... no, sorry. Why is it... I thought... Piastri is indeed on a fresh set of hards. I need to double check that, guys. Thank you for 43,000 subs, by the way. Much appreciated. Hope you are enjoying the stream. No, Ollie Bearman is not retiring. Thankfully, he's just been put onto a brand new set of hards. So, supposedly there, is that Ollie Bearman just... That's Ollie Bearman and Haas basically just getting off of the medium compound tyre as quick as possible, ensuring that they adhere to the 2-tyre compound rule. They literally put him out there for 1 lap, came in and stuck on now a fresh set of hards so that he could go to the end of the race. Oscar Piastri sets the fastest lap of the race as Tsunoda and Sainz has been noted for causing a collision. Hamilton fastest last sector on a fresh set of mediums, but as Hamilton is on the charge here to try and overtake Antonelli, he lost a position to the driver that replaced him at Mercedes at the start of this race, and Hamilton gets past Antonelli into turn 2, and Lewis Hamilton dispatches the 18-year-old Italian racing at his home circuit, and Hamilton will now be looking to overtake Isaac Hadjar, the driver that idolises him, who is doing tremendously well in P5 at this moment in time as I'm watching the collision between Carlos Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda, and well, that's very... I don't know why that's even being noted, to be perfectly honest with you. They kind of just banged wheels. I think that's just fair racing. That's just hard but fair racing. I don't know why it's even being investigated. Just looking to see if there was any damage that was caused. I don't see if there's a penalty given there for either driver. I think that's very unfortunate and should the stewards really need to look at themselves. But we'll keep noted of whether or not any further is brought of that. But Piastri currently in P4 at the moment. It says he's on a hard compound tyre. I'm not sure if that's true. He might be on a set of mediums. It did show that he was initially on a brand new set of mediums rather on the same set of hards because he made a second pit stop. Yes, no further investigation for causing a collision. Tsunoda and Sainz. Well done, stewards. I don't normally praise you, but well done. The correct decision there. As Hamilton, on the brand new set of mediums, sets the fastest lap of the race at 19.473. He is looking to try and overtake Isaac Hadjar. He needs to get ahead of him so that he can get clean air. He's not close enough just yet into turn 2. Well, did Hadjar defend on the inside there? How is the exit of Lewis Hamilton, who has the softer tyres available to him? No, Hamilton just controls the throttle on the exit there and ensures that he is not taking too much life out of these mediums that you would suspect he wants to take to the end of this race, as George Russell dispatched Lance Stroll there to make his way up into the points in P10. As we head further down the pack here, you can see that Lance Stroll in P11, who's just been overtaken. Hülkenberg is in 12th. Sainz in 13th. A real shame from him, and that split strategy of Williams going for the 2-stop with Sainz and 1-stop with Albon. A real change of fortunes there, you can see. Contrasting fortunes there with Albon in P3 and Sainz currently in P13. Tsunoda in 14th at the moment. He's up 6 places after starting from the pit lane. Colapinto in 15th, Gasly 16th, Lawson is 17th, Bortoletto 18th, 19th is Bearman, and Ocon is the only retirement who brought out that fortunate VSC for Max Verstappen. Of course, it was going to be very tight between him and Piastri when Max eventually made his pit stop, but with a 10-second advantage under VSC conditions with the pit stop compared to green flag conditions, he has been able to extend his lead at the front, and it's now actually Norris who is leading from, not Oscar Piastri, as Hadjar is now about to be overtaken by Lewis Hamilton, who was patient last time around, and it's a simple overtake for Hamilton down into turn 2, and Hamilton is now up into P5, up 7 positions today. The Ferrari's much better in race trim than it seems in quali trim, that is for sure, and their race pace actually hasn't been too bad when you look at the lap times compared to the Red Bulls. They have been behind, of course, the McLarens. The McLarens are the quickest here today, but track position is key, and Max Verstappen is comfortably out front. Nothing untoward that he needs to do right now. He needs to just see this through for the next 27 apologies, as he crosses the start-finish line for the 37th time, because if there is a potential late safety car, he needs to ensure that he has plenty of life in his tyres for a race restart. But this has been a very interesting race, guys. There's been more overtakes than I suspected here at Imola, and that is what you get from softer compounds, tyres that degrade. Of course, the VSC has thrown a spanner in the works, potentially to strategy, but there are drivers out there who still need to eke their tyres out to the end of this race, particularly, you would say, Lewis Hamilton and Kimi Antonelli on the medium compound tyres. I do think Piastri is on the mediums as well. I need to confirm that to you guys, but Piastri is on the mediums. I'm just the timing tower is stating that he's on the hards. I need TV coverage to tell me whether or not he's on the mediums. I do think he is. But big thank you, guys, for everyone tuning in. As always, 9,500 of you in here, over 1,000 likes. Thank you. Over 43,000 subs. Continue to hit that subscribe button. Let's see if we can get to 45k. Can we? Surely there's 2,000 of you in here who haven't yet to hit that subscribe button. And of course, it's just a token of your appreciation that you are enjoying these watch-alongs, which we have been providing every race weekend for you. And this would be super nice to watch. Sure, P1 already decided, but a Williams podium would be great. Well, it does state that Piastri will be catching Albon pretty quickly. He gained nearly a second on Albon last time around. 2.2 seconds is the gap to Albon and Piastri at this moment in time. It's going to be a tall order for Albon to fight off Piastri. But if you are Alex Albon, I think you try and fight this. I think you do. You try and hold off Piastri. You try and ensure that you use the racing rules to your advantage. Defend the inside. Force him out of racing room, because you have a podium opportunity here today, Alex Albon. So why wouldn't you try and fight? I hope he fights it, but of course, Piastri has tremendous amount of grip at the moment out of the corners. You can see almost every corner he is gaining time at this moment. And I'll be able to confirm to you whether he is on the mediums as well. As Hamilton did say, he had to use a lot of tyres to get through those two. Of course, on the medium compound tyres, he's trying to get to the end, as Antonelli loses a position to Charles Leclerc as well, as Antonelli now down into 8th place, has no answer to the pace of the Ferrari, who actually looks, as I said, quite good in race trim here today. Verstappen, a 19.7 last time around for him, matching basically Lando Norris's time as Tsunoda gets past Lance Stroll. And we are seeing overtakes here at the Imola circuit, which is brilliant to see. Not often that we say that, as Charles Leclerc just did the fastest first sector out of anyone today with a 24.8 there with his overtake, DRS-assisted overtake on Lance Stroll. So we'll see how his progression continues, because he has done very well today. Leclerc, he looked like he could be arguably in Hamilton's position right now, maybe chasing down Alex Albon with Piastri there, because he was only 3 seconds behind Piastri when the VSC came out, and unfortunately he lost out on that advantage. But Piastri, 1.1 seconds to Alex Albon now. You do suspect that this will be a foregone conclusion, and Piastri, who's been very smart with his overtakes today, he's been very patient and got the overtakes done down the start-finish straight to ensure that he loses as little time as possible, is easily going to overtake Alex Albon. You can see the time advantage that he's gaining through the corners, and Alex Albon, it'd be tremendous if he could secure a podium today in that Williams, but it is a tall order with the pace advantage that Piastri has, as Albon, speak of the devil, is noted for a yellow flag infringement, so I really hope that isn't the case, as just looking to see what tyres Oscar Piastri is indeed on, and Oscar Piastri is on... I'm yet to see what tyres he's actually on. Is he on white tyres, yellow tyres? I think he's actually on the hard compound tyres. So I don't know why he made a second pit stop. Yes, so he is on a set of hard compound tyres, but I think... there we go. The tyre number has updated itself. He is on a set of brand new hards. So that's why he's going as quick as he has been. But you can see there, he's all over the rear wing, all in the rear view mirrors of Alex Albon. And it is just patience for Piastri, ensuring he utilises that extra grip that he has in that McLaren over the Williams. It's been a tremendous effort, and a top 5 will still be a brilliant drive and a great haul of points for Williams today. As Alex Albon is no doubt about to be overtaken here. You can see that gap is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And thankfully for Albon, as he's about to be overtaken by Piastri here, no further investigation for that yellow flag infringement, as Piastri, DRS open, straight through into turn 2, easy does it, and well, Piastri will now have his sights set on his teammate, who is 12.5 seconds up the road, and Piastri, who gave that position to Max Verstappen into turn 1 today, uncharacteristic for Oscar Piastri to allow Max Verstappen the room to get through into turn 1, is now paying the price for that, as he is down in P3 with Lando Norris closing down the gap on the championship leader. Of course, Verstappen will have a look at the permutations on the championship standings in both the constructors and the drivers when the race ends. So do stick around, guys, once the race ends, to take everything in and see how we are heading into the Monaco Grand Prix next week. Sainz just overtook Fernando Alonso there, and he's now 1 position outside of the points, and you do think it's going to be a double points scoring position for Williams today, because Hulkenberg, it's probably only a matter of when, not if, when Carlos Sainz overtaking Nico Hulkenberg. But as it currently stands, Verstappen leads 18 seconds ahead of Lando Norris. Last time around, attempt taken out of that time, Lando on Verstappen. 23 laps remaining in this race. Barring a safety car, Max Verstappen is going to win this race after getting the lead out into the first corner. Not Piastri, as we mentioned, in P3, 13 seconds behind Lando now, with a fastest lap last time around, but he's not going to be able to probably take out the time advantage he needs to catch Norris, who can just look after his tyres to the end of this race. Albon in P4, he has an 8-second advantage, and even 9-second advantage over Hamilton, and Leclerc has finally got past Isaac Hadjar. And well, both Ferrari drivers, they started 11th and 12th. They have a record, but the last 2 times that they didn't make it out of Q2, they failed to score points. They DNF'd in both of those races back in 2020 at Monza and last year in Canada. No such case this time around, as Hamilton is up 7 positions in P5 and Leclerc is up in P6, and it arguably could be even better for Charles Leclerc if he was on the positive end of that VSC. He did a tremendous first stint, pulling off the brilliant undercut, and then lost a lot of positions when the VSC came out. All that hard work almost, not quite, almost dissipated under that VSC, as Bearman has gone fastest in the middle sector, down in 19th place. Poor race weekend for Haas. Of course, Bearman falling foul to a poor decision by the FIA, in my personal opinion, with that red flag that came out. And well, he did not make it through to Q1 as a result. And well, today, a track that's difficult to overtake for the, of course, the well, it's not been particularly difficult to overtake today, but a track that I guess for the teams that like Haas, it's been difficult to overtake. He is in 19th with Ocon. Another mechanical issue, another power unit issue by the sounds of it, or a gearbox issue. Second race weekend in a row for Haas, so not looking good for them this year on the mechanical side of things. As Fernando Alonso is about to come under attack from Yuki Tsunoda in P13, who is up 7 positions at the moment after starting in the pit lane. Alonso on 29-lap-old hard compound tyres, and well, he doesn't have an answer to Yuki Tsunoda, who's on fresh mediums, or fresher mediums, and he has overtaken him down into turn 2. And Carlos Sainz, I said it was when, not if. Sainz dispatches Nico Hulkenberg into the same corner and is now up into the points after the early committance to a 2-stop strategy. Different contrast of fortunes there, with Albon up in 4th committing to the 1-stop, and Sainz down in P10. He was down in 15th at one point not too long ago. So yes, Hamilton and Leclerc, that gap 8.2 seconds to Alex Albon now. Will Hamilton be able to catch up to Alex Albon? We will see. Of course, catching is one thing, overtaking is another. Will there be a battle between Hamilton and Leclerc, ladies and gentlemen? Hamilton last time around a 20.2. Leclerc on a different strategy, on the longer lasting hard compound tyres. Will we see team orders? We, of course, saw the radio messages last time around at Miami. Will we see a repeat of that today? Let's see. hopefully, let's stay tuned. Verstappen, last time around at 19.5. Mark, thank you for the $5 US. Much appreciated. W in the chat for Mark, guys. Thank you, thank you. And if you are enjoying this stream and you're enjoying the commentary, please hit the like and subscribe button. Over 10k of you in here right now. Big thank you. Every single weekend we've had no less than 10,000 viewers for each race. So yes, this is definitely a good place to be, an enjoyable place to be. And yeah, hopefully you're sitting back and enjoying the race at hand. I think it's been a pleasantly surprising Imola Grand Prix right now. Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, I had low expectations. Yes, Max Verstappen, with the benefit of that VSC, is going to win this race at this moment in time with 20 laps remaining, barring a late safety car. But I think it's been very intriguing with the strategy choices, with the step softer compound that we've had here to this weekend. And we've actually seen on-track overtakes, quite a fair few, to be honest with you. A lot more than last year. As Alonso is saying, yeah, it's going to be torture. It's a wreck. I'm the unluckiest driver in the effing world. And it's a real shame for Fernando Alonso because, yes, the Aston Martin drivers did end up on the wrong side of the VSC. But, yeah, valiant effort from them last time around. It looks like they're going to finish outside of the points. I feel Fernando Alonso's pain because I think the Aston Martin drivers don't deserve what the result they're going to get today. By the way, Smokey, thank you for the gifted sub. Much appreciated. Chris Black, thank you. Yeah, obviously you said your thank you to Smokey. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated, everyone, for tuning in. And yeah, if you want to support the channel further, you can always join as a member. As Piastri sets the fastest lap of the race, half a second quicker than Lando last time around, but his gap to Lando is 13.7 seconds. Really, the front three, their race is done now, barring a late safety car. They need to just manage their tyres. The gaps are too large for them to close down. They have to take their points, manage their tyres, and ensure that they have at least enough tyre life left for a potential late restart, because there is always at Imola that potential. Charles Leclerc closing in on Lewis Hamilton, by the way. He was quicker than Lewis as he was approaching him, but now he's in the dirty air. I'm just waiting to hear the radio messages of the Ferrari team to see whether or not they decide to release Charles Leclerc. That gap to Albon is closing. 7.1 seconds the gap now is. Of course, last time around, they were trying to chase down Antonelli and Albon, and they dawdled on it. They absolutely dawdled on that decision. And, well, I guess the question is, with the varying strategy decisions here, alternative strategies of Leclerc on the hard right now and Hamilton on the medium, do they think that Hamilton will not have enough tyres left at the end of the race to overtake Alex Albon? Do they think it's more viable for Leclerc? I think at this moment in time, while that gap is considerably closing and Hamilton is on the quicker tyre, I think it makes sense to leave Hamilton out front at this moment in time. But we'll see what Ferrari decide because it's Ferrari at the end of the day. Thank you for the 99p pound there. Much appreciated, TM. Thank you. But yes, we'll see. I'll keep you updated on the Ferrari messages. Nothing reported on the messages yet about Ferrari in what they are saying. No doubt Charles Leclerc is probably thinking, I'm in the dirty air. He has dropped back as George Russell was overtaking Kimi Antonelli, by the way. As Antonelli's going slow. Kimi Antonelli's going slow. Could this be this late safety car with 18 laps remaining? As Kimi Antonelli is going slow, he's got a mechanical issue, I believe. It's where we saw Esteban Ocon and the VSC pulled out. Has he been able to pull that car over into a safe area, or will a VSC be required? Has he lost control of the car? There is not a yellow flag just yet. Why is the yellow flag not thrown? A very delayed yellow flag for the Mercedes driver. Is it another mechanical issue, or has he lost control of the car on the exit there? It's a yellow flag. Still no decision on a VSC. Let's see Lando Norris. Does he slow down at all? I think Lando is going a bit slow through this sector, as he should do, as Kimi Antonelli has gone off and he has an issue with his car. I got an issue. It's another mechanical issue, and he's pulled over into the same area that Esteban Ocon was, but he's a bit further up, and it might require... It's a safety car! Safety car! Oh my goodness. Drama here with 18 laps remaining, and this is what we said could potentially happen. He has pulled over a bit further up into the grass where Esteban Ocon pulled over as well, but because he is further up the hill, a recovery vehicle will be required. Max Verstappen is into the pits. He's going on for a fresh set of boots, and no doubt everyone else will as well. We are in for a drama-filled remaining 17 laps of this race, or 15 13 odd laps of this race when we eventually get going again. But we have got a showdown here, guys, at the end of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. I do believe that, let's just watching what's happened with Kimi Antonelli. It is a mechanical issue, unfortunately, for him. He went through the turn 7 hairpin and he's just lost all drive. Similar to Esteban Ocon, the engine just goes. The engine just cuts out. Exactly the same as what happened to Esteban Ocon. So that's 2 engine failures that we've seen here, or gearbox issues that we've seen here through the exact same corner, turn 7. What are the chances as Max Verstappen will be joining the back of the safety car as Oscar Piastri has got ahead of Lando Norris as Lando Norris has decided to pit. And he's going to come out behind Alex Albon. It's a race to the line. And I think Alex Albon... Oh, my God. Lando Norris, did he get out and stay ahead of Alex Albon there? I don't know. We will see. Oscar Piastri, who is staying on the same set of tyres that he had because he has no fresh sets available to him because he's already made that pit stop. So let's see what happens here as as Lando Norris is now in P3. He's going to have considerably fresher tyres to potentially overtake his teammate, though. But it's about the drive to the pit exit line with Alex Albon and Lando Norris. So I'm watching the TV coverage now. It was a drag race to that line. Did Lando Norris stay ahead of Alex Albon? And he... Oh, I don't know from that angle if he did. I don't know from that angle if Lando Norris stayed ahead of Alex Albon. It was very close. Oh, I'm not sure who stayed ahead there. I think Lando did. I think he did. There's no investigation just yet. Oh, that was tight. Super, super tight there. Piastri didn't pit because he has no fresh new tyres available to him. So he has already used his second brand new set of hards available to him. The only other tyre he can go on to is the super soft tyre, basically the soft tyre, the C6. And we know that tyre will not last 17, 15 laps. So we have seen pit stops here. Verstappen is P1. He's on a brand new set of hards with Piastri in P2. 16-lap-old hards he is on at the moment. We have a recovery vehicle on track at turn 7 to remove Kimi Antonelli's car, which has had a gearbox/engine issue. The same exactly what occurred with Esteban Ocon. Norris has pitted for a brand new set of hard compound tyres. Alex Albon now into the pits as well. So even though it was very close between Norris and Albon there to the pit exit line, Albon has decided to pit onto, no doubt, a brand new set of tyres that are available to him. That relinquishes P4 to Charles Leclerc as Hamilton has pitted and relinquished his position to Charles Leclerc and is on a brand new set of hards as well. Where is Alex Albon going to come out? Yes, he is going to come out ahead of George Russell as George Russell is in P6. He's on old tyres. Sainz is on old tyres. This promoted him to P8. Hadjar in P9 on a brand new set of hards. So we are going to see racing here, ladies and gentlemen, at the closing stages of this race, because we have a mix of drivers on considerably used tyres and drivers on brand new tyres, which are going to be very quick to fire up. Max Verstappen, fortunately for him, he does not have Lando Norris on a brand new set of hards directly behind him, so he will be able to get that launch on Oscar Piastri, who is on considerably used tyres. And, well, it's more so Norris getting the position on Piastri. I think we are now going to see, guys, it's the 7th race of the season, and I think we are now finally going to see the 2 McLaren drivers fight it out on track. I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it, guys. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Safety car for Kimi Antonelli for a mechanical issue, which has removed him from his home race. A real shame for him. And that is why we have the safety car here, because the recovery vehicle is on track. But it's Verstappen in P1 from Oscar Piastri in P2, who is on 17-lap-old hards at this moment in time. They'll be even older by the time the race gets underway. Lando Norris is in P3. He's on brand new tyres as well. It is going to be full-on attack Lando on his teammate. I'm all here for it. Charles Leclerc could potentially sneak a podium here as he is in P4, but he's on considerably old tyres as well, whereas Albon in that Williams is going to be on brand new hard tyres. George Russell on the flip side, as same as Charles Leclerc in P6 on old hard tyres. Hamilton on brand new hard tyres in P7. Sainz in 8th on old used hard tyres. Hadjar, on the flip side, is on brand new hards. Hulkenberg on mediums. Tsunoda on mediums in P10 and 11. Gasly is in P12. Lawson is in P13. Alonso and Stroll are now onto a brand new set of mediums. Kind of brand new set of mediums. Fresher set of mediums in 14th and 15th. They'll be aggressive towards the end of this race. Colapinto in 16th is on a brand new set of hards. Bortoletto in 17th and Bearman in 18th. And wow, this is going to be a very interesting close to this race. Why not a VSC? The reason why is because Esteban Ocon's car, he was able to pull it to a stop at a close recovery area, whereas Kimi Antonelli is a lot further up the hill, and they have to get a recovery vehicle to be able to remove his car down into that escape road. So that is why. So yeah, just a mechanical issue for Kimi Antonelli. It was a gearbox issue by the looks of things. His gearbox just cut out, or the engine just cut out. Exactly the same circumstances of Esteban Ocon earlier on, which brought out a VSC, and which was to the benefit of Max Verstappen. But we do have a race on our hands here. Overtakes have been possible here at Imola today, and of course with a significant tyre delta that some of the drivers have here over those ahead of them, it is going to be really intriguing. It's going to be an intriguing restart, especially the McLaren drivers, because I do suspect Verstappen is going to have a comfortable race restart. He has the grip out of the last corner, especially over Piastri, who is directly behind him, who is on 18 lap old hards at this moment in time, whereas Norris has brand new tyres on. How will Piastri and Norris go wheel to wheel? That is the question. That is what I'm very much looking forward to. Why did Piastri not put on as well? Piastri didn't put on any new tyres because he doesn't have any new tyres available. He only has softs, and the softs are not a good race tyre at all. He would not last to the end of the race. But guys, if you are liking this stream, hit the like and subscribe button. Let's get this stream to 45,000 subs. Let's get to 44,000, shall we? Surely there's 800 of you in here who have yet to hit the subscribe button. A big thank you for those of you tuning in, as always. Over 11,000 right now. And well, if you are new to this channel, where have you been? If you have been here for a very long time and you're still yet to hit that subscribe button, please do, because it just shows a token of your appreciation. And what we're doing here is a double yellow flag in Sector 9. Why is there a double yellow flag in Sector 9? Okay, that's obviously because no doubt the recovery vehicle is probably moving Antonelli's car further up the hill there to remove it out of the way. So hopefully we've only got another maybe lap or so. Is there any lap cars? The only lap car is Ollie Bearman at the moment, who is behind Max Verstappen. So Ollie Bearman no doubt will be released very shortly. And then we should get at least, I reckon, 11 laps, 12 laps of racing. Lando Norris radio to him. Norris is reporting his tyres are pretty dead, Oscars. Oh, Lando Norris, the radio message for Lando. He's just going, oh, Oscar's tyres are a lot older than mine. And they're like, yeah, we know. And he's like, no, I'm not asking to be let through. He's like, just let me know, like, let him know not to fight too hard. It's just like, Lando, come on. Take the ball by the horns. We will see here. It's going to be a very interesting battle between Piastri and Norris. Verstappen will have this restart comfortably under control, in my personal opinion. But the fight is going to be between Piastri and Norris, and I'm all here for it. Of course, Albon behind is going to be fighting Charles Leclerc for 4th place. A good result on the cards here for Alex Albon. And Lewis Hamilton is going to be fighting his old teammate George Russell as well, who is currently in P6. Lando does need to prove himself again at attacking. He does indeed. You need to let the drivers fight right now. They're fighting for a Drivers' World Championship, and I don't think they should be thinking about team orders. Even though Lando has younger tyres than Piastri, you need to let them fight. That's what we want to see, and I hope McLaren don't issue team orders, even though they should do at potentially some certain tracks in some scenarios like last year. But not right now, not at this stage in the season, and not at this stage of the race. So let's see. Why are they not releasing Ollie? Maybe because the recovery vehicle is still on track. It says clear in Sector 8 now, so they might not be releasing Ollie yet because the recovery vehicle is still on track and the area is not clear. We will see. I can't imagine it's going to be too long. we should at least get 10 laps of racing, which is plenty of time, plenty of laps remaining for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Whoa. Recovery vehicle more useless than Ferrari's strategy. What has just happened? Well, if you're just tuning into this race, guys, and you're wondering what has happened throughout this race, well, at the start of this race, Max Verstappen made a tremendous overtake late on the brakes around the outside of Oscar Piastri, and well, it was an uncharacteristic poor defense from Oscar Piastri down into turn 2, which allowed Max Verstappen to take the lead of this race, and well, what happened from then on is that we pretty much had the top 7, top 8 as they were, and Lando Norris did eventually dispatch George Russell with some great wheel-to-wheel racing, the two friends. It was great to see the respect on track between the two of them. Lando got himself into P3, and Oscar Piastri, we started to see drivers commit to a 2-stop strategy as they were starting to struggle on the medium compound tyre, and Oscar Piastri was one of those drivers. But what happened is that it seemed like that the tyres started to come back to those who stayed out on that one-stop strategy, which is so often the case here at Imola with a very long pit stop loss time. And then what happened is that we had a VSC. It was looking like there was going to be a convergence of Piastri and Verstappen, ending up with Verstappen making his pit stop, being very close as he came out of the pit lane. But what happened is that Esteban Ocon, with a mechanical issue through turn 7, brought out the VSC, and that gave Max Verstappen a cheap pit stop. He gained 10 seconds on Oscar Piastri and comfortably came out in the lead under those VSC conditions. Some drivers benefited, some drivers didn't, and well, what we have had since then is pretty much kind of normal service resumed. Piastri made up some time with a brand new set of tyres on, but then this late safety car has put a spanner in the works here to a number of drivers as they are on. Those drivers who made that committance to the 2-stop very early are now on considerably used tyres compared to those who committed to the 1-stop. And you can see here where the tyre life, the number next to the tyre, indicates who is on older tyres and who is on younger tyres, and that is why it's going to be very intriguing in the top 10 battle here, because we have half of the drivers in the top 10 on brand new hard compounds, and we have half of them on considerably used hard compound tyres. So we are going to get racy here. Ollie Bearman is unlapping himself and will try and catch himself up to the pack, but it won't be the case. There will be one more lap under the safety car, as is the rules. So lap cars are able to unlap themselves, and then there's one more lap under the safety car, I believe, and then we will have racing. We'll have 11 laps of we'll have 10 laps of racing, pretty much 11 laps of racing, and we'll be ready to go. Ooh, Antonelli just had a mechanical issue. Unfortunately, a gearbox issue for Kimi Antonelli has made him retire out of turn 7. That's why we had the recovery vehicle on track and this very late safety car. They couldn't remove his car safely with just the marshals, unlike Esteban Ocon earlier on, where he was a lot closer to the escape road, and the marshals could remove that safely under VSC conditions. This did require a safety car because of that recovery vehicle. So yes, no doubt safety car will be in this lap, guys. I hope you've been to the loo. I hope you've got your snacks, because we are in for a very interesting 10 remaining laps here in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap. Confirmation. Moments away. I'm so intrigued right now, guys, to see the McLaren drivers hopefully go toe-to-toe here. It is Max Verstappen leading from Oscar Piastri in P2, Norris in P3, Leclerc is P4, Albon is P5, Russell P6, Hamilton is P7, Sainz is P8, Isaac Hadjar is P9, Hulkenberg is P10, Tsunoda is P11, Gasly is P12, Lawson 13th, Alonso 14th, Stroll 15th, Colapinto 16th, Bortoletto 17th, Bearman is 18th, unlapping himself, and he will be very lonely, no doubt, by the time he should be able to just catch the back of the pack. But for him, his race weekend has been very poor. Of course, that red flag yesterday, which the phantom red flag, I guess, which didn't get him out of Q1, has really put a spanner in the works to his race weekend. And then we've had 2 retirements in the form of Antonelli and Esteban Ocon through mechanical issues. But yes, we will have 10 laps remaining of this Grand Prix. That is a lot of racing still to be had here at the Imola circuit, and we are in for a very dramatic end. Drivers on hard used compound tyres, and we have drivers on fresh hard compound tyres as the safety car pulls away from Max Verstappen as he is backing up the pack here, ready for the restart of this race. We will have 10 laps remaining as we are on lap 53 as it currently stands. The safety car makes its way around the last corner. If you are enjoying this race, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. The track is clear and we are ready to go racing. Is Max Verstappen going to go early, or will he wait for the very last moments, because it is a very long drag down into turn 2? How confident will Max feel in that Red Bull car? And I think he's gone. He's using the grip that he has on those brand new hard compound tyres. And well, he's already pulled out a little bit of a gap on Oscar Piastri, who is on 22 lap old hards. We have 10 laps remaining here. Lando Norris behind Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc close behind him as well, but he's on hard tyres, and Leclerc's going to go for a move on Norris, I think, down into turn 2, and Norris has to go defensive there and loses a bit of ground to Oscar Piastri. But that is important for Lando to ensure that he didn't lose a position to Charles, because now he can focus on Piastri ahead, who is already losing and already nearly out of the DRS of Max Verstappen on those brand new fresh set of hards. And Norris will have DRS activated next time around, and that is when he'll be able to go on the charge on his teammate, and we should see the McLaren drivers go side by side for the first time this season. 7 race weekends it's going to take us, and hopefully we are about to see it. Charles Leclerc losing ground to Norris already, as you can see, and he's going to be under attack by Alex Albon, who is on fresh new tyres, as Tsunoda moves up into P10. He started from the pit lane and he's now into the point scoring positions on those medium compound tyres. A great drive from Tsunoda today, as he has Isaac Hadjar up ahead of him. Carlos Sainz is in P8. Hamilton is in P7 at the moment. He's looking all over the back of George Russell, who's on a set of used tyres. But you can see there, Verstappen, importantly for Norris, Verstappen is pulled away 1.4 seconds from Oscar Piastri, who's on those considerably used tyres. DRS will be activated next time around. Will the tow be enough for Norris in equal machinery on that McLaren, as Norris and Albon has been noted a safety car infringement? Oh my goodness, do not. Oh my God, as if that's going to get in the way of a race result here. We will stay tuned for that. We'll keep you guys informed. But Max Verstappen leads on the race restart from Oscar Piastri, who is 1.6 seconds behind. Lando Norris 8 tenths behind Piastri. He'll have DRS enabled next time around. The only DRS zone from the exit of turn 18 down to turn 2. The remainder of the track is all about positioning yourself, ensuring you can get a good exit out of the last corner to capitalise in the primary overtaking spot. That is turn 2. But you can see Max, with that clean air, with those brand new tyres, he is able to pull a significant gap over Oscar Piastri, who he overtook into the first corner, the second corner technically, at the very start of this race. And he hasn't looked back since, as Alonso, on a fresh set of mediums, gets ahead of Liam Lawson into P13. But Piastri, 1.9 seconds back from Verstappen, but that gap to Norris is 1.1 seconds, as Norris has just lost a little bit of time, it seems, through the middle sector on his teammate. You can see there 3 tenths he lost on his teammate in that middle sector, but he's regained into the DRS there as he heads down into turn 17. No further investigation for the safety car infringement of Norris and Albon. Good, that's what we want to see. We want to see this decided out on track today, as Verstappen sets another purple lap, the fastest lap today. Lando Norris will have DRS. Of course, it's not really going to be an overtaking opportunity down into turn 2 because of the time he lost in that middle sector last lap. He regained the time he lost in that last lap in the last couple of corners there, as George Russell defends from Lewis Hamilton, who's also on a fresh set of tyres as well. And Hamilton will be looking to overtake his former Mercedes teammate down into turn 5. But Russell, as he defended very well against Norris earlier on today, uses that same experience against Norris, against Lewis Hamilton. But you do suspect it will be only a matter of time on those brand new tyres. Lewis Hamilton will get up into P6. It could even be up into P9, as Hamilton is all over the rear wing of George Russell. They're side by side into turn 9, and George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, respect between the two of them. They went side by side through turn 9, and George Russell maintains that position. Lando Norris now, a much better middle sector from him. He equals his teammates, and we know he has that extra level of grip through the last couple of corners, but he's going to need to make up a couple of attempts here to have an opportunity on his teammate and have that drive out of the last corner. We have 8 laps remaining, or 7 laps remaining, once Max Verstappen crosses the start-finish line, as Lewis Hamilton still on the rear wing of the Mercedes, and that's allowed Sainz and Hadjar to close up there and form a little bit of a train. But let's see, Charles Leclerc holding off Alex Albon as well. Lando, DRS open. He hasn't got the gap, I think, but he may have the drive here on Oscar Piastri. Let's see if he's going to go down into turn 2. No. comfortable for Oscar Piastri there. As Hamilton gets past George Russell down into turn 2, and Sainz is also potentially losing a position to Isaac Hadjar. They're going side by side. Overtakes a galore here down into turn 2 on this race restart. 7 laps remaining. Verstappen leads 3.4 seconds from Oscar Piastri, who is trying to hold off his teammate. Half a second behind Lando Norris is on fresh hards, as Charles Leclerc is in P4, 1.5 seconds back, trying to hold off a Williams. Yes, you heard that correctly. Charles Leclerc, who has recovered tremendously well today to be up at 7 positions into P4, is holding off Alex Albon for P4. Unbelievable performance from Alex Albon and the Williams today, as Alonso makes another position on those set of mediums into P12. He feels hard done by today by the VSC, Fernando Alonso. He'd love nothing more than to score his first points of the season, as he is just behind Nico Hülkenberg and Yuki Tsunoda slightly up ahead. But Lando is a lot closer than he has been the past few laps. It's all about the exit out of the last couple of corners for Lando Norris on those fresh hards. How close can he stay out of the last corner? He is a lot closer. He's around a 10th and a half closer than he was the previous time around. He's going to have DRS, and well, it could be side by side between the two McLarens as they head down into turn 2. He's definitely side by side already as they head into turn 2. It's all about the braking, and they're side by side as they head down into turn 2. The two McLarens, and Lando has got ahead of Piastri into turn 2. But will Piastri come back at him down into turn 5? Lando's going to defend, and yes, Lando holds off Oscar Piastri. The first time we've seen the McLaren drivers go toe-to-toe this season, and Lando dispatches Piastri. A difference in strategy today. Lando, who started P4, is up into P2 and dispatches his teammate, the championship leader, but he will be closing down that championship lead today. We'll have a look at the permutations of the championship at the end of this race. Stay tuned, guys, because Max is going to be securing 25 points today, with Lando Norris gaining 17, with Piastri not far behind. So there's going to be permutations there, as fair and respectful racing between the two McLaren drivers. Lando was ahead round the outside at the apex of turn 2, and well, Oscar covered a bit too much curb on the entry of turn 2, and that allowed Lando Norris to swiftly get past. Brilliant racing from the two McLaren drivers, respectful, and Oscar Piastri a bit at odds today, you do suspect, with that turn 2 defence on Max Verstappen, which lost him the lead, and then of course the strategy as well, as Alex Albon's going for a move on Charles Leclerc down into turn 2. Leclerc and Albon side by side as they went down into the braking zone of turn 2, and Charles Leclerc on 29 lap old hards is having to defend tooth and nail from Alex Albon in this Williams, who all the while is allowing Lewis Hamilton to close up the gap, as Hamilton is nearly within the DRS, and it's been a great recovery drive from the two Ferrari drivers as they started 11th and 12th yesterday after the poor qualifying that was unforgivable and disgusting, as Charles Leclerc stated. Well, what a recovery race it has been for them, but Alex Albon could be getting a great haul of points here today, and he's fighting the Ferraris of all cars. What a start to this season this is for Williams. Unbelievable. Guys, if you are enjoying this race and you're enjoying this stream and commentary, please hit that like and subscribe button. We have 4 laps remaining once Max Verstappen crosses the start-finish line here. It's been a very comfortable race for Max Verstappen. I thought if Max got into the lead, it would be a bit more of a closer battle, but in the clean air, Max Verstappen, and with the benefit of the VSC, has never looked back after overtaking Piastri down into turn 2 at the start of this race. But let's stay on board with Leclerc and Albon. Albon's going to go again. Hamilton's going to be looking to capitalise on these two going side by side, potentially into turn 2. Does the pacey Williams have the move on Leclerc down into turn 2 before they even get into the braking zone? I think they do. Leclerc looks to try and fight and hold on to it. They're side by side with turn 2 as Alex Albon's forced off and loses a position to Lewis Hamilton, I think, as Lewis Hamilton is now side by side with Albon as they head into turn 5, and Charles Leclerc and Alex Albon go side by side. Albon went for it, and Hamilton says yes, thank you very much, as Albon was forced off the racing circuit there by Charles Leclerc. I'm waiting to see a replay of exactly what occurred, as yes, Alex Albon did get side by side with Charles Leclerc, who defended to the inside. Albon swept around the outside, and he wasn't far enough ahead of Charles Leclerc, and Albon had to very well car control, went over the gravel, and Charles Leclerc was late on the brakes there, and yes, he was entitled to that corner. Great racecraft there from Charles Leclerc to hold off the pacier Alex Albon, but but it's not over and done with yet. Hamilton is on fresher tyres compared to his teammates. Will Hamilton go for a move on Charles Leclerc? It's not over yet. Alex Albon could be looking to do what Lewis Hamilton does with 3 laps remaining. Verstappen leading from Lando Norris in P2. Forcing another driver off the track is being investigated between Leclerc and Albon. But Hamilton, DRS open. Will he be able to overtake his own teammate down into turn 2? Or will he hold station? Hamilton is going to overtake Leclerc down into turn 2. He does. And Leclerc doesn't have an answer to Lewis Hamilton. Is up 8 positions into P4. Charles Leclerc in P5. And Alex Albon will be looking for revenge there on Charles Leclerc in the closing stages of this race. Albon on the radio stating that wasn't fair. It doesn't look like he was potentially ahead at the apex down into that corner, but we will see as Charles Leclerc on the older tyres is trying to hold on. It looked like it was just a comfortable pass for Lewis Hamilton, and Charles Leclerc, he knew he couldn't fight and overtake it, hold off the position. As Hamilton, yes, went comfortably around the outside of Charles Leclerc, and Charles Leclerc just slotted in behind his teammate who's on the fresher pair of tyres. As we have 2 laps remaining, we'll be on the penultimate lap as Max Verstappen makes his way around the last couple of corners right now through turn 18. And Max Verstappen has a 6-second lead over Lando Norris, who is in P2, Oscar Piastri P3, and well, Hamilton in P4. I'll tell you what, if there were maybe a few more laps remaining here, Hamilton could even potentially get a podium here at Imola. But Charles Leclerc and Albon's going to go for it again. Let's stay on board with them. They're the closest out there at the moment. Albon, his exit is good. He's half a second back from Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, who is fighting for his life with Albon. He's already done it twice already. Can he do it for a 3rd time? DRS open, Alex Albon. Is he going to go for the move on Charles Leclerc down into turn 2? No, he's a little bit scarred, Alex, from the previous attempt on Charles Leclerc. He didn't want to be forced off again, but he's thinking about positioning his car and having a run down into turn 5. It's risky through the Villeneuve chicane, and Charles Leclerc positions his car well. And Albon is fighting for. He has 1 more lap remaining after this to try and get a top 5 here. A P6 will still be great for Williams with Carlos Sainz down in P8 as well. But what Albon would love for a P5 here, a top 5 at Imola. He's driven superbly here this weekend, and Williams have done tremendously well with his strategy. But Piastri, I'll tell you what, Piastri is getting caught tremendously quick by Hamilton here. His tyres are falling dramatically off a cliff. Could Hamilton, he's 2 seconds back from Piastri. I think, unfortunately, Hamilton's going to run out of time. He needs probably 1 more lap to have an opportunity, as we are on the last lap now, as Max Verstappen is through the start-finish line. The last lap, the final lap for Max Verstappen. If you've enjoyed this race today, guys, if you've enjoyed this watch-along, please hit the like, but importantly, hit the subscribe button. Let's get to 44,000 subscribers, guys. We'll be back next week for, of course, the Monaco Grand Prix, the 2nd race in this triple header. But let's stay on board with Alex Albon. It's been a tremendous race, a comfortable race for Max Verstappen. But Alex Albon, at the last time of asking, can he get dispatched Charles Leclerc now side by side? I think he's ahead of him. I think he's got it done comfortably down into turn 2, and Alex Albon tremendously well after being scarred from being forced off the track by Charles Leclerc. Well, it doesn't matter what the investigation is now, because Alex Albon is in P5 and he's going to secure a top 5 for Alex Albon. What a great result that is. And Hamilton is just going to fall short of a podium, it seems, as Piastri's tyres are truly falling off of a cliff here. But Piastri will have enough with half a lap remaining. But Max Verstappen, he's in P3 in the championship right now. He's 16 points behind Lando Norris. He is going to close that gap at the top of the championship. He overtook Piastri down into turn 2 tremendously well over the outside of Oscar Piastri, and he never looked back. Max Verstappen wins the EMILIA-ROMAGNA Grand Prix in 2025. Lando Norris gains 2 positions to finish P2, overtaking his teammate out on track, and Piastri will be glad to see the checkered flag, because if he had 1 more lap, he could potentially lose the podium as Hamilton finishes in P4. Alex Albon, a brilliant P5 from him in the Williams, as Charles Leclerc finishes P6, and he's complaining over the radio about his race and about the racing between Alex Albon. George Russell in P7, down 4 positions. He fell suspect today due to a poor pit stop earlier on. Carlos Sainz in P8, a good recovery from him because he was down in 16th at one point after the first round of pit stops with a poor strategy decision by Williams. Hadjar P9 solid where he started. Bit of a quiet race for Isaac Hadjar. Yuki Tsunoda up 10 positions, Yuki, to score a single point today after starting from the pit lane. Fernando Alonso just, unfortunately, falling short, guys, of his first points of the season in P11. He didn't deserve that, to be perfectly honest with you. Nico Hulkenberg is in P12. Gasly P13, Liam Lawson 14th, Stroll 15th, down 7 positions. Colapinto finished where he started in 16th. Ollie Bearman in P12. Bortoletto is in 18th. Antonelli and Ocon are your 2 retirements. And well, that is it for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Wow. My expectations were low, ladies and gentlemen, but what an unbelievable race that was. Max controlled that race. He did benefit from a VSC, but what a great race. W's in chat, guys, for that race. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. I wasn't expecting a lot. No further action for Leclerc and Albon, forcing another driver off the track. But Max Verstappen has won that race. Let's have a look at the championship standings and have a look at what that has done to the driver standings. And, well, we can see here that Piastri gains 15 points, Norris gains 18 points, and Verstappen gains 25 points. And, well, the order is still as it was before this weekend, but those gaps have closed slightly. Norris gains 3 points on his teammate Piastri there, 146 points to 133. That gap goes from 16 to 13 points. Verstappen, though, gains 12 points on Lando Norris and gains even more, 7 points. 7 points on Norris and gains 10 points on Piastri. 124 points to 146 points. So yes, very interesting for the championship standings, guys. Mercedes, no alterations there in the constructors' standings at this moment in time. McLaren are still leading P1, Mercedes in P2, Red Bull Racing in P3, Ferrari P4, Williams in P5, Haas in 6th, Aston Martin in 7th. Unfortunately, a great qualifying from them yesterday, but they were not able to convert into a race points today. Racing Bulls in 8th. They gained 2 points, but they're still behind Aston Martin in 7th. Alpine in 9th and Kick Sauber in 10th. But what a race. What a recovery from the Ferrari team, guys. Let's do our driver of the day. Thank you for everyone for tuning in, by the way. Let's hit that subscribe button, shall we? Surely there's 500 of you who haven't hit the subscribe button. Go on. Do it. You know you want to. You know you want to. Big thank you, yes, for everyone tuning in, whether it was on Twitch or on YouTube, of course. Big thank you, everyone. Driver of the day. Driver of the day. We have to go. I think, personally, you go. Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, and I still think Leclerc, you know. Albon. Albon, you gotta go Albon. Bloody hell, how can I miss Albon? I'm gonna go those. Have to go Albon in there as well. Top 5 for Albon and actually doing it out on track as well. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You say, Charles, he forced all the horrors and the worst luck with the safety cars. They had an absolutely... Leclerc unfortunately got screwed with the second safety car, I think it was, or the VSC. But yeah, he did a tremendous recovery. It was a tough race for Charles Leclerc. He went through it today. Thank you for the kind comments, guys. Much appreciated. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it. As I said, if you are enjoying these streams, all I ask is just you hit the subscribe button, because it really does just shows that we're building a great community here, and you guys are enjoying these watch-alongs and these streams. So, Georgian, Georgian, yeah, you did say Ferrari comeback. You did say, there you go. Another mod, man. Another mod. You get to become a mod. Well done. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Nenny, thank you for the 10. Thank you. We did have another donation as well. Where did I missed that? Apologies. BJ Ray said $2.99. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all your kind comments and all your subscriptions. I can't get through every single one of them, but yeah, just a big thank you as always for tuning into them. I'm really buzzing after that race. I'm really buzzing. Pit start and ended up in points. That is a conversation for the driver. It is, However, the reason I haven't included Tsunoda is purely because he's in a much quicker car. He should be making up those positions. And I will also say that I think Red Bull did help Yuki out a lot with the strategy. And a lot of those positions were not from on-track overtakes. That's still a great result for him to get into P10. But I think there's still more drivers out there today who had better drives, personally. For me, my driver of the day, I think, is... who's my driver of the day? I'm going to have to say Albon. I just think what they're doing in that Williams, like, it is the top of the midfield teams, but the fact of it, he fought off the Ferraris. I think Albon, great drive from him today. Getting that top 5 with an overtake on Charles Leclerc at the end. You could give it to Hamilton as well. I think, yes, Hamilton on that alternative strategy did very well. Overtakes as well. I mean, that... Do you know what? It's a case of kind of what if for Ferrari, because they very much do have a quick car over race. Well, here at least they did have a quick car in race pace, in race trim, but the quali performance was absolutely nowhere. So, but Max controlled that race perfectly. The overtime. If you haven't seen, listening to Oscar Piastri be interviewed now. Piastri just went. Yeah, Piastri just says down into turn 2, he just braked too early. And it's quite evident to see that. It was very uncharacteristic defence from Piastri down into turn 1. I'm surprised that he didn't be more aggressive as he had the inside line. He did brake too early and allowed Max to be ahead at the apex. So great move by Max, but uncharacteristic defence from Piastri. And it was a bit of an off race from him personally, I think. So let's talk about Alex Albon, number 23, trying to stop me getting past. That was fine. I'll just go on the grass. Yeah. I'm very impressed with how Alex Albon handled himself in the closing stages of that race, because it's very easy to probably get you might not even have another opportunity there after he got forced off down into turn 2. Now, Charles Leclerc was efficiently ahead. Close, but he was ahead as the racing guidelines state down into turn 2. So Charles was within his right to force him out of racing room. And Albon could have quite easily have lost his head. I've just not gained a position there on Charles and I've lost a position to Hamilton. Yet he bided his time. He didn't force the issue when he knew he could have gone for a move down into turn 2 again on the penultimate lap. But then on the last lap, he patiently waited and he got that move done. Very, very good racecraft from Alex there. Super impressive. Thank you, Adebayo. Much appreciated. Yeah, guys, thank you for all your comments, the kind comments at the end of the stream for the commentary. I hope you are enjoying them. Yeah, I really hope you are. Sad day for Antonelli getting a DNF at his home race. I know, it's a real shame. It is a real shame for him. It's out of his control, unfortunately, though, isn't it? It is out of his control. So there's nothing that he could do about it. By this race, I think Max studied Oscar. Franz Hermann is the secret winner. Yes, that's true. Franz Hermann has won today, guys. Franz Hermann has won. So, driver of the day. Oh, I tell you what, it's very close. Max Verstappen, 35%. Lewis Hamilton, 33%. Alex Albon, 26% of the vote. Norris, 6%. So, am I going to wear the Miami Ferrari shirt next week? I think I'll hold off of the Ferrari shirt next week, guys. What do you think? Really hope Imola doesn't disappear from the circuit. It'll be such a shame. Yeah, I mean, it did provide... it's still... I think, really, like this race, obviously we had the VSC and then the safety car, but I think almost the VSC, it still was going to be a very interesting race prior to the VSC because of those, was the one stop going to work, was the two stop going to work, we had that convergence out on track. I was really intrigued to see how the race was going to play out. But we found the way for good racing here. Finally, Pirelli, a step softer. Well done. It's taken you 5 years, but you got there eventually. A step soft, the softest compound you can possibly get, provides better racing. You need a tyre delta. You need varying strategies at a race, and it provides you good racing. It's not a difficult formula. You're a multi-billion-dollar company. You know? So, yeah. No, my pleasure, guys. Dusko, where's your chocolate? You like white chocolate? What the driver stand is now? You'll have a look at them again in a second. However, I just run down off the grid one last time. Apparently, Ferrari told Charles to give the position back to Albon. Did they? Did they really? I don't think... Really? Did they do that? Let me have a check. I need to see that move back from Charles Leclerc. I think he was ahead. I think he was ahead. Let's have a look. Charles Leclerc. I can't find anything yet, so, but I'll try and see if I can find it. But I thought he was ahead. So, you don't think he was ahead? Well, the difference is whether it's not whether or not if he's ahead or not. It's whether or not Alex has his front axle fully ahead of Charles's front axle. That's the racing rules. That's the racing guidelines. So he may have been slightly ahead, but he may not have had his front wheels fully ahead of his front axle. So even if Alex has got his front wheels half of his front axle is ahead of Charles Leclerc's, then he can't. That's Charles's corner. So, but I need to see it back. I only saw it from kind of like a face-on angle. But yeah. But yeah, thank you guys. Wow, yeah, 43,572 subscribers at the moment. Oh, surely there's still 400 of you in here that haven't hit the subscribe button. Go on, guys. You can get us close there. But thank you for all the subscriptions today, the memberships. We've had a good few new members. We've had over 2,000 likes, donations. Big thank you, guys. These streams are getting bigger and better. So I hope it was an enjoyable experience in the chat. Thank you to the mods, as always. We are not jumping anywhere just yet because we are taking everything in. So let's have a run through the grid one last time. Max Verstappen is your winner. I didn't think it was going to be as comfortable of a race for him. The VSC did benefit Max. And then, of course, when there was the second safety car, he had a fresh new set of boots on. Didn't have Lando directly behind him. He had Piastri behind him, as Piastri looks quite dejected, understandably, in that cool-down room as he's on his own at the moment watching the TV highlights. But Verstappen, look, he did what he needed to do, controlled the race perfectly up front, as we know he can do. And yeah, a very good race win for him. Lando Norris, a good recovery to get into P2. Showed some racecraft today. Got past George Russell. George Russell was defending very, very valiantly. He dispatched him, I would say, quick enough, really, in the first stages of the race. And then Oscar Piastri, fair fighting, used his tyre advantage, fair, respectful racing between the two of them. And yeah, obviously finished P2. Hamilton, Oscar Piastri in P3, of course, he will not be happy about his turn one. He'll be thinking, damn, if only I'll brake later. It was quite uncharacteristically calm from, I say not calm, unaggressive for Piastri down into turn one with that early braking. As Hamilton finishes in P4, great drive from him up into up 8 positions. You guys, well, he's just about your second vote for driver of the day. Then we have Albon in P5, arguably my driver of the day. I think a great drive from him in P5. Leclerc up 5 positions into P6. Great recovery from Ferrari. George Russell in P7, down 4 positions. Sainz in P8. Hadjar P9. Tsunoda up 10 positions, starting from the pit lane in P10. Alonso P11. Hulkenberg P12. Gasly 13th. Lawson 14th. Stroll 15th. Colapinto 16th. Bearman 17th. Bortoletto 18th, and then Antonelli and Ocon were our retirements. Yeah, let's have a look at the driver standings again. I know we looked at them very quickly after the race ended, but where are they? Here we go. Championship predictions. And, well, there are the permutations of this season. After that race, Piastri still at the top of the standings, but he has had his lead slightly cut. 146 points now, and it's 13-point lead over Lando, because Lando was unable to win this race. He has only closed the deficit by 3 points. Verstappen, though, gained 7 points on on Norris, and gained 10 points on Piastri. 124 points to Piastri's 146. So So he is now under a race win back from Oscar Piastri, where he was beyond that previously. So that is what, 22 points between Verstappen and Piastri now at the top of the standings, and there is 11 points between Norris and Verstappen there, whereas previously it was 16. Russell is in P4 still, Leclerc is in P5. Hamilton moves up ahead of Kimi Antonelli to move into 6th place on 53 points. He is now 8 points behind his teammates. Antonelli down into 7th after that retirement today at his home Grand Prix. Albon 10 points. Wow. Stays where he is. He's got a comfortable lead over Ocon in P9, Alex Albon. Ocon in 9th, didn't score points, neither did Lance Stroll in 10th. Sainz up 2 positions after scoring 4 points in P11. Tsunoda down into P12, Gasly 13th, Hadjar 14th, Hulkenberg 15th, Bearman 16th. Alonso unfortunately fell just short of his first points of the season. Lawson 18th, Bortoleto 20th, and Colapinto 21st. You swear people change their wash opinions so fast. You saw like 5 to 6 people saying Oscar is washed and won't win the championship. Oh, behave. Absolutely behave. It's a very long season. They're going to, not everyone's faultless and going to, not be able to make mistakes, you know? Especially with how close it is at the front. Like, the smallest mistake is going to be very costly to you. But he's still got a 13-point lead. So, your best move of the race was Leclerc overtaking Stroll and then melting a massive more than 2-second gap to Alonso and overtaking him in that next lap. Yeah, it was very aggressive today, Charles. It was good to see a very aggressive Charles Leclerc. And McLaren have been clear over and over. If the driver wants to win, earn it on track until it's no longer possible. Yeah, no, I agree. But they kind of didn't do that last year, though. They should have at least prioritised Lando earlier on, but we'll forget about that. Chris, unless the two McLarens crash each other out, McLaren doesn't seem to be worrying about winning the race as they are very comfortably on top of the Constructors' Championship. Yes, yeah, but there will still be a little bit concerned that they're allowing Max Verstappen these opportunities because Red Bull could very well sort out their car at some point this season. And then Max, as we know, he maximises his car. And if they get a car that's on level with the McLarens, because at the moment he's still the second fastest car, then they're going to end up closing that gap. And especially Max, he's staying within touching distance. That's the thing. He's staying within touching distance. Can we count Williams as a top team now? I mean, they're comfortably the 5th fastest car, aren't they? Yeah. They're comfortably the 5th fastest car. And they're the best of the midfield. And they're actually pushing the Mercedes. They're battling the Mercedes. They're battling the Ferraris. I mean, wow. Wow. Lando fans being salty at McLaren for now switching the drivers. They would have earned the same points when not was released. I mean, they didn't switch the drivers, though. They allowed them to fight. They was never going to let them switch because, at the end of the day, Piastri started ahead of Norris and Norris ended up on fresher tyres at the end. So why not let them fight? If you start giving team orders now, I mean, maybe if you're looking at it, you could have gone, okay, Piastri, we want you to swap positions with Norris straight away because Norris could go for the race win and overtake Verstappen. If there was a clear number one in McLaren, then yes, Norris would have been probably afforded that opportunity. But they're not. They're both fighting for the World Drivers' Championship, and Piastri is the leader at the moment. And you don't tell the leader of the Drivers' Championship to swap positions with the guy that he's fighting it out for, even if you're in the same team. So, but they could have done Dusko. They could have put Lando ahead to fight Max. But then that's I get it. I get it though. Like you just don't. You don't, at this stage of the season, where you know you've got the fastest car, obviously, yes, you should be capitalising on race wins, but you don't tell the World Championship leader to give up position and give up points to the guy who's in P2. You just don't do that. Evidently not wearing the Ferrari shirt on race day brought us some luck. I know, Sammy. I'm not wearing it next week in Monaco. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it to Charles, guys. I can't do it to him. So it's staying in the wardrobe for the next weekend at least. It may come back out for Spain. We'll see. Max for Imola 4 Imola wins in a row. Wow. Is that the 4th win in a row? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's dominated here, isn't he? If Lewis could swap with Bottas in Hungary while losing the championship, they should have swapped Piastri. Yeah, but Hamilton always had a comfortable lead over Bottas. That's the difference. Bottas always had a comfortable lead, and he was always behind Bottas in that race. So that's why he swapped the position back. So Hadjar's race was wrecked by the safety car. Yeah, I'll have to go back and see it. It's a real shame that I mean, Hadjar's race was. Hadjar had a decent race. I mean, there was a few drivers out there who had their races ruined by the safety car. I'm on the Missed Apex podcast later on tonight. You can go check that out, guys, and listen to it on Spotify and so forth. I highly recommend that you do. But yeah, his race was definitely. I think Alonso's race was hampered by the safety car. Leclerc's definitely was as well. Leclerc was like behind, it was honestly like a couple of seconds behind Piastri after the first pit stop. So Charles Leclerc was looking to really kind of even maybe push for a podium. But that second safety, I think the VSC, yeah, really got in his way, unfortunately. So Williams botched Sainz's strategy badly. They did, yes. Yeah, Sainz's strategy, so they split the strategy onto the two-stop and it just wasn't working. And Albon stayed on the one-stop strategy. Of course, they all ended up making more than one stop anyway because of the safety car, but it was definitely a poor decision for them because it put him, like I think Sainz, the fact that he got back up into P8 is tremendous from him and from Williams. Of course, they didn't pit him the second time around because he had no other tyres available in that second pit stop with the safety car. So he was able to gain some positions under the safety car, but he was like 16th at one point. Like it looked like it was going to be a dire performance again for Sainz in the Williams. No fault of his own, but still. You disagree this time? Team needs the team play to get that constructors. Maybe. I mean, yeah, it depends, isn't it? It depends what your priority is, I guess. But getting a DNF on your first time race is really sad. Yeah. Just ask Charles Leclerc, he knows. I'm sure Antonelli can ask Charles because he'll know how he feels. But let's see. So I'm trying to see if I can find the Charles Leclerc race. Overtake. I'm not sure. Right, that wasn't fair. So I'm trying to see if he was ahead at the apex or not. So hang on. Let's have a listen. Let's have a watch. Yeah, there's not at any one point. Yeah, there's not. Did Ferrari genuinely tell Leclerc to give that position back to Albon? Is that what they did? Because if they did, and if I must have missed it, but if they did, he's not. Alex Albon doesn't at any point in that overtake have his front axle ahead of Charles Leclerc's on the outside. They did. Well, they've made that's wow. Okay, right. So I'm going to share this. This is the only angle that I've got, by the way. I think. Let me see if I can see a replay. So, oh, hang on, watching the replay. Alex Albon's on board. Come on, show me Alex is on board again. Yeah. So Alex doesn't. He doesn't at. So it's as I said. He has his front axle. His front wheels are probably like a quarter of the way ahead of Charles's at the apex. That's not the racing guidelines, from my understanding that we saw last time. Let me check. Hang on. I've got them saved because I've sent them to a few people. Right. So let me see. Where was it? So racing guidelines. Right. So on the outside, overtaking on the outside of a corner. Overtaking on the outside of the corner will always be viewed as more difficult manoeuvre to accomplish. To be entitled to be given room, including at the exit, when overtaking on the outside, the overtaking car must have its front axle ahead of the front axle of the other car at the apex. Be driven in a controlled manner from entry to apex and to exit. Be able to make the corner within track limits. So, I mean, the only thing there, I guess, is that it's not fully. It says not fully ahead. However, I would argue, well, he wasn't ahead. This is I don't know. But I wouldn't say he's ahead. I don't know if they deem it as being fully ahead or not. But that's what it says here. And I wouldn't say he's got his front axle ahead at the apex, but... I mean, yeah. Never know how the FIA would rule they took a safer route to avoid a penalty. Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. But still, it's... Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? Look, I'll show you. I'll link it in the chat. I'll link it in the chat, what I'm looking at. You'll see the onboard. So, let me share it with you guys. So this may be region blocked. I do apologise if it's region blocked because it's ESPN. But if you guys can check that out, there is an onboard of Alex Albon, and you can see kind of at the point where they're turning into the apex. So the current regulation wording is so poorly worded. Yeah, of course. Have you actually read the regulations or some of the regulations? It is so poorly worded. It's so poorly worded. So, would he have made the corner without bouncing off Albon? I mean, yeah, Albon wouldn't have made the corner because Charles Leclerc obviously rolled off the brakes and gave Alex no room because he was like, well, I'm the one who's ahead. But yeah, if you're uncertain with how they're going to rule, it's probably safe for him to swap the position rather than get a 10-second time penalty, because that would have put Charles Leclerc way further back in the points. So I think it's a wrong call by Ferrari, but I think Albon would have won the position anyway. Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, he did. I mean, did he? But I mean, yeah, he probably would have done anyway. So. But remember, Max got slapped with a penalty without the stewards telling RB to give the place back. Yes, however, there's a clear. They were complaining about, oh, he was ahead at the apex and so forth, he was forced off. But it's like, but you know the racing guidelines better than we knew them at the time. Like, we didn't, as fans, we didn't even know what the racing guidelines were at the time. Yet they do as the team. They're privy to those. We now, through leaks and so forth, have been able to gain access to it. But they should have known at the time, yeah, Max wasn't ahead there. But they also knew how key track position was, and that, okay, we may, if we do get a penalty, we can probably build up a gap to maybe nullify that in clean air, rather than, we're better off trying to nullify the penalty being out up front than we are giving the position back to McLaren. So I think they kind of just played ignorance there, to be honest with you. Played dumb, shall we say. Oh no, like, why not just give an illustration in the race regulation for car position? I know, it just, I don't think they have. It's only like the race and that who have actually done illustrations for it. But I think Ferrari could have gone, Charles, like, that's fine. But yeah, you never know. You never know, obviously, do you, with the race with the stewards. So, I mean, they've already ballsed up, in my personal opinion, the red flag this weekend with Ollie Bearman. So, but anyway, let's give you guys, so driver of the day, overwhelmingly, is Verstappen, 44% of the vote. Lando Norris, 6%. Hamilton, 31%. And Albon, 19%. Let's give you guys driver or... what do you guys... as we always do. Right. Out of 10. 1 to 4. 5 to 6. 7 to 8. 9 to 10. Let me know what you think. You rate the race out of 10, guys. They played the percentages, yeah, that's what they did, so. Yeah, watching Max's move down into turn 1, it was just... Piastri was so cautious on the brakes because obviously he was on the tighter line. And Max just launched it round the outside. Controlled, but launched it... Oh, I mean... Hang on. I think... Was Max entitled to room there? I think... So this is the thing where it comes back to, does it have to be fully ahead, or is it just like the front axle needs to be partly ahead? I don't know. But I actually, now I'm looking back at it, I think Piastri, if he wanted to, could have run Max out of room there and gone, well, he was never fully ahead. He never had his front axle ahead of mine. I think he could have done that if he wanted to, and I think he maybe missed a trick, but maybe thought, oh, you know what, we've got more, we've got a better race car, so this is why he gave him a bit more room. Why 1 to 4? Because in polls I only have the option of 4 slots, so I have to group 1 to 4 as its own like option, unfortunately. So you're just flexing your membership emojis. No worries, Foster. Ferrari need to focus better on quali sessions they do in race pace. Agreed. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, good recovery from Ferrari. You can't complain about that, can you? If you're them, considering they were 11th and 12th. So some good strategy decisions, which you don't normally see from them as well. The season won't be over before a first turn 1 to 2 collision because of the rules, honestly. No, my pleasure, guys. My pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Thank you for all the subscriptions, by the way, guys. How many did we start with today? I always like to check that out. Let's have a look. How many did we start with today? We had 42,790. So just short of what's that, like 900, 800 I think we've had. That's brilliant. Thank you, guys, much appreciated. Red Bull upgrades are working to close the gap. Yeah, well, they were actually a lot better in their tyre deg than I was expecting them to be today. So the fact of it was in clean air, I mean, the medium didn't really work that well for them, did it? But just watching some overtakes of Yuki. Good overtake from Yuki, doing the cutback on, was it Nico Hulkenberg there? Into turn 9. I know I'm not a fan of MBS and would like anyone else, but what are my thoughts on Sainz Sr. being president? I think Sainz Sr. would be a good choice because he's disciplined. He has experience and he knows people in all different forms of motorsport. So obviously he's like a world rally driver, like champion, and does the Dakar. But he's got a son in F1. Like he's got a good grandstanding already amongst the motorsport world that would be able to hopefully apply common sense and improve all kind of forms of motorsport, I think. And I think that's what we need. So why was McLaren slower today? I don't know why they were slower on the mediums. I would have to listen to some of the interviews from McLaren, to be perfectly honest with you. It's a strange one. You would expect them to be better. Maybe it was Piastri. I think Piastri genuinely was struggling more on that medium than Norris. And that is kind of... I mean, is that the first time really this season we've seen tyre deg be a proper issue for the McLaren? And Lando handled it much better than Piastri, didn't he? So Piastri's weakness, we have said, has been his tyre deg in the past. And I feel like that potentially reared its ugly head today for Piastri. Norris, of course, still couldn't take his mediums as long as Verstappen. The Red Bull, Max was still better on his tyres than both McLarens, but Norris was better than Piastri on a tyre deg race, which is why they committed to the 2-stop early on. And that's ultimately why Norris was able to win the battle against Piastri today in the end, because he was able to take his tyres longer and he had fresher tyres on at the end of the race. So, yeah, intriguing there. Definite improvements from Red Bull, for sure. And something that McLaren may look at and go, oof, that's where we had an advantage over Red Bull. That would have raised maybe a couple of eyebrows when they're looking and analysing the data today and in the next coming days. Williams, good car, but I have to admit both drivers showing great race car. Yeah, definitely. No problem at 24. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, thank you for the kind words, for the great coverage. Thank you, guys. Conflict of interest probably won't make it happen. So I didn't have an opportunity to do a video on it, Hussam, but I saw something that was just totally up the MO of Mohammed bin Sulayem. He's trying to introduce more powers so that he can decide, basically, who is able to run The sort of current F1 president can decide who runs for president in the next elections. So you can basically choose and decide as the current president who your competitor is, who you're going up against. That's just utterly bloody ridiculous. So it's basically him being able to ensure, no, he's not suitable to run. And it's coincidentally, he's trying to implement this rule and change these rules when it was announced that, oh, Carlos Sainz is interested. Carlos Sainz Sr. is interested in running for the president. I mean, there's already lots of hoops that he has to jump through to get an approval to be a candidate. But how can you as a current, like, pure corruption, it's unbelievable. I was just like, this dude has no shame. He has absolutely no shame. And there are other motorsport organisations, from what I understand, trying to get their own candidate to compete against him. But it's just, yeah, the biggest corruption ever. So, MBS wouldn't pass his own rules. Why did Alonso have a brake fire front right at the pit stop? He had it on both. He had it on both of them, front left and front right. I don't know. I mean, maybe the brakes were just running too hot. Obviously, they run considerably hot in races. I think Aston Martin have had this. They've had brake issues in the past. Alonso actually had brake issues in China, didn't he? Which was an early retirement for him. So maybe it's just an issue, of course, with the cooling, lack of cooling in those Aston Martin brakes. But thankfully, he was able to continue, and it didn't ruin his race. So, but a real shame that he wasn't able to finish in the points in the end, because he deserved it. So. Oscar managed his medium tyres well, but they overheated, and that's why Charles also pitted early. But Max didn't, as RB used Hadjar as a reference point because he did 29 laps on the medium. Yeah, but they overheated because of the way that Oscar was managing them. So it does come down to the fact that Norris was just able to overly better manage his just better manage his tyres than Oscar. You could see that. Just from the lap times Lando was setting, and Piastri didn't. It's as simple as that, really, whether you look at benchmarks or not. Max has always been very good at managing tyres, as has Lando. But Piastri, I still had a couple of question marks. I thought he has improved his tyre management for sure, but I think it did rear its ugly head today. So the overheating was going to pass. They just needed to wait it out. Yeah, I mean, it did seem like that. It did seem like that, but ultimately he was struggling so much and he was losing so much time to Max at that time, whereas Lando was actually maintaining that gap and slightly chipping away at it. And they went, okay, well, we need to commit to that two-stop. So, did the mediums grain then come back? I actually don't know if they grained or not. I don't know if they grained. I don't remember seeing graining, but Sainz can still easily pass Stroll and Ocon in World Drivers' Championship, close enough, and he's in a position to score. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Sainz, you expect Sainz to eventually have some better finishing results than Albon, for sure. I think Williams can easily secure 8th and 9th in the championship, and well, they'll be looking to secure 5th for sure. That'd be a heap of money for them. Catching Ferrari and Red Bull and stuff is a bit out of the realm of possibility for them, but yeah, 5th should be comfortable for them in the constructors, shouldn't it? Do I think Ben Saluim's career is done for? Hopefully. I just don't think that man has brought any positives to the sport. I mean, he is clutching at such big straws. He knows he is under threat because he went recently, he's tried to push the V10 thing to get some easy results, votes, and point scoring from, like, fans. And that fell through. And now he's trying to get rid of the cost cap because he's like, oh, what is the issue? The cost cap just stops like good racing and stuff anyway. And you're like, behave. You're just really trying to just buy votes now. You're just trying to throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks. Basically, that's what he's trying to do. Is there a rule where you can kick out the current management? There used to be rules of such, yes, but he's changed all of them to give himself basically ultimate power. If there was no VSC, Piastri would have been P1. It would have been close if he... So, it would have been interesting. We would have had a very different race. So if there was no VSC, Piastri was committing to the one stop. So what we would have seen is that it would have been very close between Verstappen and Piastri on the exit of the pit lane. I do think Verstappen had built up just enough of a lead. Probably would have come out a second or two ahead of Piastri on the pit stop. But Max probably would have gone to the end on that race because he was on the mediums. He would have gone to the end on that set of hard tyres. So what you then would have had is Piastri making a second pit stop and on fresher tyres going on a charge and trying to catch Max and overtake him. Now, whether that would have happened or not, I don't think he would have had enough in the tank to do that, to be honest. I think Max we know that he's very comfortable as a leader. He manages his tyres very well, and catching is one thing, overtaking is another. So it would have been interesting to see, and it would have been a very completely different race to what we saw, but it didn't happen that way. Ultimately, the two-stop wasn't really a good decision today, the way that the VSC panned out. But the way that the lap times, they kind of leveled out, and they weren't. The medium tyres didn't really do that bad of a lap times in the end. I think what you saw is that you saw drivers who were on the mediums. I think really what you saw today, you saw drivers in that first stint who committed to the one stop. They're the ones who have the better management of tyres. In this race in particular, they were managing their tyres better. They weren't uncomfortable in staying on that set of tyres, whereas Piastri was saying straight away, I think plan A is ambitious, and that no doubt was the one-stop strategy. So Max actually had a poor start. Oscar defended Russell, had an amazing start over Max. Russell had a better start than both Russell and Max, but he didn't have the room to get past Max on his right-hand side, and he was boxed in by Piastri. But what Piastri did is that Piastri could have forced Max out of room. I'm really surprised when you look back at it and you look at the start. I'm surprised Piastri was so coy on the brakes into the first corner. I'll see if I can find it for you guys. But he really could have rolled off the brakes and forced Max out of room and said, no, I'm ahead at the apex. And I'm really surprised he didn't. I think it was... I'm not sure what his... I'm not really sure what his thought process was there, to be honest with you. I think he should have just gone full send into that first corner and not given Max any room because he would have been ahead. He would have been the driver that was ahead, especially with Max having to go around the outside and cover more room. So, yeah. Careless, coy. I mean, he was too cute. He was too cute on the brakes. Cute, I think is the word I'm looking for. He's too cute. He wasn't aggressive enough, so... Albon holding his own, even as Carlos getting comfortable with the car. Don't count Albon out. No, Albon's massively stepped up. I've been really impressed by Albon. Really impressed by him. Let me see if I can find Piastri. Yeah. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm trying to find it, guys. Sorry. I've got this. Maybe you might be able to see this. I'm not sure. There, this. So, copy link. There we go, guys. Have a look at that. So that's from George Russell's view. You just popped out earlier, were there any radio fights between the two Ferrari drivers? No, I don't think so, actually. This race was a confidence boost Lando needed. Yeah, I think he'll take some confidence from it, for sure. Especially the fact that he was able to get ahead of Piastri out on track. Yeah, I think he'll take confidence in that, for sure. If Max Pitt was lap before VSC and Piastri got free stop while new scenario racing, nothing is certain. No, exactly. Would the softs last those 10 laps? No. No, they wouldn't have done. No, we were seeing drivers, they were overheating after one push lap in quali. Now, of course, you're putting a lot of energy through them in quali, but no, those C6s would not have lasted 10 laps at all. The fall off was too dramatic. You still fancy Max for the championship? Well, we have still 17 races remaining now. We have 17 races remaining, and 4 sprint races. So 17 race weekends remaining, with 4 of those being sprint races. There is a hell of a lot of points still on offer. And there's a technical directive coming in, of course, in Barcelona. Red Bull is still going to develop because they want to keep Max Verstappen happy. They want a 5th world title for Max Verstappen, so don't rule him out, no. So, you still think Lando's confidence is still in the trash? I think Lando's confidence will come fully back when he's able to stick it on pole again. When he's able to stick it on pole again, that's when his confidence will truly get a boost. But yeah, he'll be happy after this weekend because he started 4th and he ended up finishing 2nd and closing the gap only by 3 points on his championship leader, his teammate. So, but yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. That is pretty much it. Why is this live stream still on? Because we always chat after the races. We don't just dip off like other streams. It's not what we do here. We chat about F1. We take it in and we have a bit of a back and forth. Okay, right. So this is from Formula 1. So I'm trying to see if Max was actually... So Max cleverly boxed George in. George got such a drive, but Max cleverly left him no room. And then... Oh, shit. You can hear that. Sorry. Yeah, see, now there, in my opinion, I'm looking at the onboard of Max. In my opinion, that is what I consider to be ahead, front axle ahead of the inside car's front axle. So... have a check of this one, guys. This is your first time here? Oh, no worries, man. Yeah, no, we always stick around. We always stick around to chat and take everything on board. And, yeah. So glad I do this. Look, F1 Gamer does something that's very different. But what we do here is... I feel like what we do here is unique. And I appreciate everyone who tunes in and chooses me over other watch-along streams. Many people are doing it now, understandably. I get it. There's so much love for F1 and there's so many content creators out there. It is difficult to kind of stand out, but you have to focus on yourself and not others. You hear a baby, yeah, she's waiting to be fed. So yeah, and that's why you can only focus on yourself. And yeah, the watch-alongs, we get consistent viewership. Once again, another stream where we hit over 13,000 viewers. It seems to be that people, once you find my stream, you stick around, and that's brilliant. The returning viewership is really high, and I appreciate everyone who continues to tune in and support the channel. So yeah, big thank you, guys. Oh, we're one away from 600, 43, 600. Go on, someone can subscribe. The comments, I haven't even seen the comments under that. What are people saying? That was an impressive start. Yeah. People will be people when they say. But yeah, no, the onboard, that to me is... I just don't know why Oscar didn't just launch that into turn 1. I mean, I thought that's what he was going to do. I thought he was just going to go, yeah, like, I'm rolling off the brakes here. Like, very much I know he's championship leader, so maybe that was what was planned in the back of his mind, is that, like, he knew he had a decent race car, and Max ultimately is 3rd in the championship. He doesn't want to not score any points at all. So maybe difference in approach there, that he's thinking in the back of his mind, I don't want to have a collision in the first corner. However, he should have had the balls there to force Max off. Like, he shouldn't have left him room. He should have just launched it into the apex and gone, I'm ahead. Very much an attitude that Max would have is like, we crash or you back out. But he faltered. He was scared of that when it came to it, when push came to shove. So when you're chasing, it's a very different mentality to when you're leading. And I think that's what we saw into turn 1 today from Piastri. So he knows that every point counts. He will have that max mentality once he gets first. Yeah, I think so, yeah. That's facts. I think he was trying to avoid a crash, but he definitely shouldn't have let Max through. No, exactly. So, but that's a difference in approach, isn't it? A difference in attitude. So, but there we go. Right. Little ones wanting attention. We've been live long enough. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. You can all hear her. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. A big thank you to you guys tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for tuning in, as always, all the likes and stuff. We'll be back next week, of course, Monaco, the second race of this triple header. I am indeed on the Missed Apex podcast tonight, Jane. I am indeed. So, yes, be sure to tune into that live or listen back on tomorrow on Spotify and your other podcasting platforms. So, yeah, big thank you, as always. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday, and we'll catch you later. Bye.